Why did God choose them? This was the question that occupied my mind often when I was younger, combing my way through the Bible, particularly the Old Testament. Not in an anti-Semitic way, I wasn't taught that brand of fascism yet, but in the sense of why does God choose people who constantly disappoint him time and time again to be his chosen nation? Now my evil woke self will say it's because they wrote the damn books and everyone's religion will say they're the good ones, but for the sake of argument, God split the seas for the Israelites, sent fires from the sky, gave them food in the desert, yet still they went around and disappointed him. But then again, he did, within the narrative, allow them to undergo slavery, punishment in the desert, and constant war with other nations for dubious reasons. But why? Surely if God simply wanted them to do as he wants, they'd just do it, but instead he allows them to disappoint him time and time again. In the garden, God allowed Eve to eat of the strange fruit and Adam to do the same. Was that his will? Are we all just chess pieces on an elaborate board of some divine being? Or did we make that up to feel better? Is this just yet another means of coping with the unpredictability of our sordid world? Or have we disappointed him yet again with our pitiful questions, beckoning for answers that our mortal minds couldn't possibly comprehend anyway? What does any of this have to do with a semi-obscure 90s kids sitcom?
How blissful it must be for you to have lived so little and yet already reached your conclusions about the greatest wonder of the universe.
You know what, Mr. Feeney? Keep the radio.
I first encountered Boy Meets World at the age of 10 and a half, when Disney Channel was promoting its spin-off Girl Meets World. In the month leading up to the premiere, perhaps to provide some context for the Gen Z kids like me, they would show 2 episodes each week, chronicling the development of this kinky-haired white boy and his funny named girlfriend's relationship. I take my media seriously, so I was seated.
The Earth is crying for you, Cory. I'd rather have the Earth crying than my friends laughing. People make fun of you, Topanga.
The first episode they aired would have the boy agonizing over his hair.
Would this qualify as a Brillo head?
Nah, you're more like a Nerf head.
An unfortunately relatable plotline for me, while the funny named girl did interpretive dance in his kitchen and told him his soul was beautiful.
Hey, I got that on cat night. I had to wait an hour in line. Well, if it's important to you, then it's beautiful.
My father sat down to watch it with me. Apparently, he knew this show and remembered the plot lines vividly. Soon enough, my mother watched along too. I started actively looking forward to each episode, and even after they'd all aired and Girl Meets World was on the air, I remembered that old show and eventually just sought it out. What stood out about Girl Meets World to me was that this felt different from your Austin and Ally, Liv and Maddie types. This show had something to say.
No homework, more freedom!
How successful it was, let's not worry about that right now. But at the age of 11, a year into Girl, I decided to go back and watch more of that old show. Then a few years later, when I was 14, I returned to do some research for a story I was developing, and was surprised by not only how much I still liked it, but how different my perspective was, now that I was a bit older. So I did the math. The show starts when the characters are 11ish, then ends when they're about 20. I'd first watched the show when I was 11, in another 3 years I'd be 17, and 3 years after that, I'd be 20. How would I feel about the show then? So I decided to sort of simulate the experience of growing up with the show and watch and rewatch it every few years until I was 20 and make something about that experience. Ladies, gentlemen, and NBs of all ages, that was 6 years ago. I am now 20, and here we are.
1984, I poo-poo on a bus.
Boy Meets World has a strange effect on the people that watch it. Just about everyone can agree that it was goofy as hell, but it has somehow nestled its way into many of our hearts. Boy Meets World has become one of my favorite pieces of media ever, but I could take it apart on every level. My very first video is about why children's sitcoms are evil, and I started this year talking about the particular fascism of 90s sitcoms. Structurally, the show's a mess. The continuity is laughable. The timeline is confusing. The show seems to operate on the logic that the ultimate happiness to be pursued in life is a traditional education and a happy marriage, And if you know me at all, you know how I feel about that. Hell, the central relationship the show focuses on is maybe the least interesting in the series, yet still, we love it. There are currently more videos on this platform about everything wrong with Girl Meets World than videos about Boy Meets World, period, which I find to be a crime, because even with its flaws, people will always say that Boy was a much better show. But here I want to do my part in adding to the conversation by exploring this gem. I've done a franchise retrospective, I've done a career retrospective, now it's time to do a series retrospective, to explore the complexities of this show, the effect it has on people, and how my own relationship with the show has evolved over the years. Also, God.
Did you believe in God?
If the intro didn't tip you off, this is going to be a very religious conversation, because one of the major things that hit me on this most recent viewing, that this is a pretty religious show.
Well, it says here that Van Gogh found religion around the time he painted this.
Yeah, he found his soul, and he put it on this canvas.
Could be argued to be an inherent trait of coming-of-age stories if you look at it.
Believe it or not, Eraserhead is my most spiritual film.
Elaborate on that.
No.
This really started as an observation in Boy Meets World, and especially Girl Meets World. There are a few moments when they directly call to God, speak about the universe, they pray sometimes, but also this whole franchise is the baby of Michael Jacobs, who is practicing Jewish.
Yeah, thanks for, I don't want to monopolize this, but thanks for asking that particular question. I'm a deep believer, and anything that I write is going to at least try to espouse that I would never specifically espouse a personal belief, but my belief in God and my belief in that the universe is a well-run place, and we should be treating each other a particular way will be part of any project I ever do.
Some of the influences are incidental. When you look at early Topanga, on the surface she's just written as being a hippy-dippy flower child, but a lot of her beliefs can be seen as vaguely Hindu or Buddhist.
I've decided I'd rather sit on a traditional yoga cushion.
So, Boy Meets World has some religious influences, but what does this have to do with other coming-of-age stories? Well, what does it mean to come of age? Age of what? Coming-of-age stories, by their very nature, are fatalist. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Fatalism, according to Britannica, is the attitude of mind which accepts whatever happens as having been bound or decreed to happen. In other words, is the belief that events are fixed and predetermined by destiny. The concept of fatalism can be seen throughout most of the dominant religions. Concepts such as prophecies of a coming messiah, a day of judgment, good karma befalling those who do good and bad karma befalling those who do bad. Coming-of-age stories, in their very form, operate on the premise that there are certain predetermined inevitabilities that befall people at different stages of life. Free will, on the other hand, has been defined by Britannica as the supposed power or capability of humans to make decisions or perform actions independently of any other prior event or state of the universe.
I believe a person is responsible for her own destiny and can be anything she wants, if she wants it bad enough and she never ever gives up.
Now, Topanga just spouted a philosophical belief. What is it? Free will.
One of the age-old debates throughout religious history is to what extent humans are free to choose how they live versus to what extent their actions are governed by some predetermined force.
Really? Cory Matthews wakes up one morning. He kisses his lovely wife. He leaves his nice suburban home, and then he gets hit by a bus.
I'll miss you, buddy. No, I don't get hit by a bus. If I got a wife like Topanga, I ain't leaving the house.
Bus hits you anyway.
Fate. Doesn't matter if you stay in or go out, your life is predestined and there's nothing you can do about it.
There's also a secret third school of thought that I'll get into a bit later, but for now, let's meet our players. Commissioned by Disney to air during ABC's CGIF block, Boy Meets World was created by one Michael Jacobs and veteran TV writer April Kelly. This block included classics such as Full House, Family Matters, Step by Step, and others apparently. People who won't execute me if I confess that I haven't seen any of these shows, will you? I've seen some episodes of Full House on Nick at Night, but I never cared for it. It was all just a bit cheesy for me. I know Family Matters mainly because Urkel is an icon, but to be real with you, I know Jaleel White better for playing Sonic.
That's no good.
Boy Meets World would cater to the 12 to 14-year-old demographic and would star Ben Savage, kid brother of the now disgraced Fred Savage, who starred in his own coming-of-age sitcom, The Wonder Years, which would have been wrapping up just around the time Boy began production. Boy Meets World would star middle child Cory Matthews, as he is constantly reminded of how small and stupid he is in this world.
Shakespeare wrote plays and sonnets. The Greeks wrote tragedies and comedies. Robert Burns, Emily Dickinson, the Brownings examined the depths of human emotions. And do you know what each one of these poets, playwrights, and philosophers had in common, Mr. Matthews?
They all took your class?
Every one of them was older than 11.
His father would be Alan Matthews, a grocer,
I'm a grocer's son. I am a son of a grocer.
and his mother would be Amy Matthews, whose job would constantly change episode to episode.
I'm not the one who sold out my only brother for some girl.
Eric, she said yeah.
His older brother Eric, prior to the lobotomy, would chase girls and occasionally give him half-decent advice.
Yeah, like I don't have anything else in my mind but girls. Look, I got a lot of other things in my mind besides girls. A lot of other things. There's like, girl, right there, right there!
While his younger sister Morgan would be very mean to everyone and spend copious amounts of time in her bedroom.
You know, why can't you guys learn from Morgan? She is a great sister. I mean, she stays in her room, you don't hear from her, you don't see her.
So, rumor upstairs is you got a date.
Morgan, long time no see.
I may or may not have forgotten to mention her in all 40 pages of the first draft of the script.
I can't get down. My pants are outside fighting. Listen.
You're drowning my Flora bumpers!
They just shot the neighbor!
I did not enjoy being a child. The age of 11 when I first delved into Boy Meets World was defined by exam preparation and the dread of leaving the world of which I was familiar. I was in the 6th grade, having gone to the same kinder prep school all my life, but after that summer I would be moving on to the uncharted waters of public high school. Pretty much since the 4th grade we were on the grindstone to prepare for those external exams, which would apparently define the trajectory of the rest of our lives. And they ended up being so damn easy it makes me mad. But there was a helplessness in that age that I truly hated. I hated being looked down upon, I hated being pandered to, I hated being carried around by my parents to do things. After exams, however, may very well have been just about the most blissful time of my life, if not marked by lots of confusion, caused by what I would soon learn was called puberty. This would be the time when I first turned to actively seek out Boy Meets World, watching whatever episodes interested me, almost none of which were from the first season. One of the most interesting things about my Boy Meets World rewatches has been how different my impressions of the first season have been with age. I almost entirely skipped season 1 when I was the exact age it was meant for, and when I returned to the show at 14, it felt like slow torture to push through. However, when I revisited the show at 17, season 1 actually might have been my favorite. And at 20, it made me incredibly sad. Awash in the G. Williker, Beaver, Cleaver, suburban white boy aesthetic of the early 90s, we meet an 11-year-old Cory Matthews as he's routinely reminded of how small and pathetic he is in this big bad world.
Mr. Feeney, this stinks.
But luckily, he has his family and teacher/next door neighbor, Mr. Feeney, to guide him through it.
I want to move.
This season of the show takes the most direct influence from its predecessors, The Wonder Years and Leave It to Beaver, in his father knows best naivete and focus on family. This is the show at its most outwardly innocent, with its nightmare-inducing theme song, brightly lit sets, and eccentric cast.
Minkus? I used to be.
Besides his family, Cory would explore with his mischievous bestie, Sean Hunter.
Cops are after me. Maybe even the FBI. You're not involved. Unless you want to be.
I'm in.
Occasional friend, occasional nemesis, local nerd, Stuart, the GOAT.
The GOAT!
Minkus.
So what? So you're not a genius anymore?
Right. Now I'm just a brainless, pathetic moron without a clue.
Trust me, it's not so bad.
And eventually the weird but slightly alluring Topanga Lawrence.
Give me your hand. Why? I want to see if our energies converge.
This season would see Cory learn things like appreciating his dad, the dangers of cheating on tests, the joys and horrors of gambling, and the inevitability of his predetermined rites of passage.
Oh, it isn't just missing a lesson. They're going to appreciate this someday. After all, we don't want Wally and the Beaver to grow up to be wallflowers.
I like to think of growth as the process, a bitter one, where one world is gradually but steadily eroded to make way for a much larger, more imposing one.
Now, don't forget, Beav, after we've been there for a little while, you tell Miss Spencer you sprained your ankle.
Okay, Wobbit. And then she tells you to take me home, and then we get to go fishing.
It is a series of small deaths, whether those be the very cells of your skin or bits and pieces of your heart.
I've lived in this city all my life, and when I was 10 years old, I was rich. I was an aristocrat, and all I thought about was art and music. Now I'm 36, and all I think about is money.
Which is why I've always had a little childish skepticism towards what we call maturity. I think that a virtuous person is one who manages to retain as much of their soul as possible, while also making room for some of that other world.
Hey, Beaver, look at your brother Wally dancing with that new girl, Pamela Jameson. He can't help it. Miss Spencer made him.
It's a difficult thing to do. How much can you preserve that naivete and optimism of that old self, while accepting that in this world, some things are required?
He looks like he's enjoying it. No, he's not. Anyway, me and him are going to get out of here. I'm going to sprain my ankle so we can go fishing.
But particularly in this first season, I am reminded of the tragedy of all these small deaths, and it made me incredibly sad.
Felix 183!
I'm going out with Heather Ralston. Oh, look, Cory, we gotta talk about something.
That makes the game we're going to the most important game of the year.
Look, Cory, my date with Heather's Friday.
Now look, I got a slight case of detention from Feeney, but I'll just meet you at the bus. What?
Michael Jacobs' pitch for the show was that this was not going to be a standard coming-of-age story where we open on the boys' first date. It would be one where we see the younger brother feel the betrayal of his older brother's first date. This would be the pilot of the show.
I don't know why you're dumping on me. I'm not the one who sold out my only brother for some girl.
We see a fetus Cory Matthews first truly experience the anguish of his brother being taken away from him. As would become the tradition of the show, Mr. Feeney just so happens to be teaching the class about Romeo and Juliet.
Pick up the knife and kill yourself.
And the inevitability of the all-consuming power of love. Cory couldn't give less of a horse's ass.
Who cares about some guy who killed himself over some dumb girl?
It's about the all-consuming power of love and the inevitability of its influence on each of our lives.
Are you aware that I'm only 11 years old?
Cory, after having moved into his treehouse out of protest, accidentally sees Mr. Feeney set his table, apparently for a date,
America's funniest home teacher.
only to receive a call and disappointedly eat by himself. As you will quickly observe, is a trend for me with this show. I cried. But I also realized this was a reference to a scene from Rear Window.
Oh, sure, like I said, I'm not doing nothing. Anything.
Yes, you are. We're going to go fishing.
Shut up.
The next day, in detention, Cory lectures Mr. Feeney about how he's a fraud for promoting love when he himself has been hurt by it.
I had chocolate pie and you had salad for two all by yourself.
How did you know that?
Because I slept in my treehouse last night. Because this love stuff has turned my whole family against me. And you're teaching us how it's worth killing yourself for when I know you don't really believe that, do you?
You shrewd little observer of the human condition.
All Cory knows about love at this point is that it's taken his brother away. Feeney then proceeds to hit him with the first of many Feeney sage speeches.
I live on the other side of the fence from you, and it's impossible not to face in your direction every once in a while and notice the people in the next yard. At one time, a man and a woman realized that they loved each other and pursued the unlimited potential of what may come from that love. And here you are.
I don't know if they knew where the story was going to go at this point, but the episode perfectly establishes the themes of the show. Also on this viewing, it made me cry. Not just for the Feeny scene, but I unlocked a core memory watching it this time around. I've been in this exact situation, but I was Eric.
Come on, Cory, it's my first date with her. It's really important to me.
But Eric, going to the Phillies game's like our special thing.
Not chasing girls per se, but I remember the first time I fanned my younger sister off when she wanted to play. We used to play all the time, but eventually I just got tired of it. I started doing different things, whether it was drawing or having my mind mushed by mobile games on my iPad. I simply got different priorities, and I remember the first time I really fanned her off. Her disappointed look. I don't think I ever really thought about it that much, but this time around, for some reason, watching Cory go through that feeling made me feel like the scum of the earth. But then again, I was somewhat vindicated when the show told us, this is fate.
Call her.
Who?
Who? Heather, my nemesis!
Why do you want me to call her?
I'm told love is worth it.
You'll work with Miss Lawrence.
Topanga?
Cory's Alternative Friends is the episode I watched that night with my father, and it is still my favorite episode of the whole show. No competition.
Go ahead, laugh.
Your hair looks different. Why would I laugh?
Cory's assigned to do an assignment with the weird hippy-dippy flower child, Topanga, and is forced to confront the fact that he was not born with Ryder Strong's hair.
You're more like a nerf head.
You knew this and you didn't tell me?
You got curly hair. Big deal.
I love every single thing about this episode. Patrons know that the second video essay I ever made was about how when I was tiny I wanted Sean Hunter's hair.
Hey, watch it. I can't do that either.
But like Cory, I was a Brillo head. Except, the essay is actually about internalized racism and cultural imperialism. There is a reason why, in spite of how violently white the show is, especially at this point, it has a decent black following.
Jedediah and Chloe say that every time you're not true to yourself, the earth weeps.
Cory is hung up about how he is perceived by others, but Topanga sees through his performance and tells him he's beautiful.
If it's important to you, then it's beautiful.
I cried.
Got the stuff.
Regardless, Cory and Sean do some horse manure and... Still, Topanga does not laugh.
Tofu?
Cory is accepted into the weird kids posse and helps them get a petition signed.
You gotta organize, you gotta strategize.
Are you proposing to help us?
Yeah, I guess I am. It's Friday afternoon and we are the only roadblock to freedom. Things could get ugly.
It is then that history is made.
Sometimes the reluctant warrior is the bravest warrior.
And his fate is sealed.
You're not gonna kiss me now, are you?
Would it be your first kiss?
Hey, don't come near me.
Because it would be interesting if all your life you remembered that your first kiss happened when you thought you looked weird. I would have to feel I really knew the person and that I liked him.
Good.
I may or may not have made very embarrassing ooh and ah noises. The rest of the season would see Topanga as a recurring, though not quite main character, in the class, while Cory and Sean get up to their hijinks. Cory hasn't been completely taken yet. The focus of the bulk of the season is on his friendships and family. But we return to this relation towards the end of the season in the episode Boy Meets Girl, where the kids are shown a video about puberty and like clockwork, immediately start looking at each other differently.
If it happens.
Oh, it will happen.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I'm gonna stay 12 till I'm 42. And Sean's in with me on this the whole way.
Right, Sean?
My big brother started looking at girls like that, and the next thing I knew, he went out and got married.
Cory feels left out when Sean goes on his first date, love now having stolen both his brother and best friend.
Did you forget about our basketball game?
Sorry, Cory, I guess I lost track of the time.
Hang on a minute, Cory. This is guy stuff, okay?
So, at the advice of Minkus of all people,
Well, just think of someone you're completely comfortable with, and someone who doesn't mind having you around.
Well, my mom's already taken.
Just go for the first thing in a dress.
he finds the first girl he sees and asks her out.
Topanga!
Cory and Topanga sitting in a tree. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
He gets cold feet and Topanga goes to his house instead.
Very fluish, yeah. It's very contagious. You better get out of here.
Here, drink this. It'll detoxify your aura.
Where instead of forcing it, they go at their own pace and do laundry together and talk. It is then that the inevitable happens.
Way to go, Topanga!
That little giggle is the sound of the Cory Matthews that was being cast aside in favor of a new little monster that, for better or worse, we're going to be stuck with for the rest of the show. The hormonal mailbox has arrived, and he will never be the same. I've already said too much about the buoyancy of my boat on this platform. I'll say this much. I remember what it was like to be at the age when the girls in your class who you've always known start to look and feel like more than just the peers you've known all your life. It's a strange and confusing and deeply uncomfortable time, and I don't miss it. But I have also grown up in a society where this was an inevitability, that you just automatically want to pursue them at an age.
After all, we don't want Wally and the Beaver to grow up to be wallflowers.
You simply must start looking for a potential life partner.
Romeo and Juliet is Shakespeare's ultimate testament of love between a man and a woman.
The concept of being anything but cishet was not even slightly an option. When I was the age that Cory and the squad are at this point, I had quite literally never even heard the term gay. I would first be introduced to the concept of homosexuality a bit later. Actually, no, the first time was that one episode of Good Luck Charlie that they were able to get away with because the show was ending. But I didn't know what that was, and was thoroughly confused the whole time. More of this in season 2, but I just want to note that as precious as this episode is, and as wholesome as it is to see Cory and Topanga grow at their own pace at this stage,
You know a lot about women.
Well, I am going to grow up to be one.
there is something to be said about how the show celebrates the narrative of the inevitability of romance as a rite of passage. As mentioned before, Cory and his family are very much safe in the cozy white middle class bubble, and the lessons learned here are done so usually within the confines of school, from a nice speech by Mr. Feeney, or at home by his really cool parents. The first episode that even somewhat broaches larger issues that may affect people outside of that bubble is Teacher's Bet, when while Cory's learning about discrimination in school, Eric's girlfriend of the week comes home crying.
What's wrong with Linda?
Some jerk at the mall called her a bad name.
Armall?
We get a bit more insight into the reality of the world outside of Cory's in Santa's Little Helper.
I believe you haven't yet chipped in your $5 for the class president to Mr. Feeney.
Tomorrow.
You said that yesterday.
Look, Minkus, I just spent my last money on lunch, okay? I'll give it to you tomorrow.
When we learn that Sean won't be getting Christmas presents this year.
I don't think Sean's going to be having much of a Christmas this year.
Why not?
Sean's dad got laid off.
Sean's dad lost his job?
Sean up until now has been written as being a bit more mischievous than Cory, and we hear some funny stories about his family, but this is the first time we're learning more about his situation. The conversation progresses in the episode The Fugitive.
Don't turn on the lights.
Where Sean blows up a mailbox and runs away from home.
You should have seen the flames and the freaked out look on people's faces.
What do I do now, though? I can't go home.
It wasn't like you did it on purpose.
But I did it. That's the only part my old man's gonna hear.
I grew up acutely aware of social class, though I didn't always know why it existed. The elementary school I went to was very upper class, posh, and all the kids were children of business owners and that sort of thing, while the church I grew up going to was in the inner city. I myself was always been, like Cory, a middle class schmuck, just with less mayonnaise. Whenever I went to one of my classmates' houses or special events related to the school or something adjacent to that setting, I felt poor. Not that they made me feel poor, they hadn't learned that particular brand of fascism yet, but I wanted to stay in these spaces and knew that when I left I would have to return to reality. With church stuff, it was the opposite. Not necessarily that I was rushing to get out of there. With church, I was always rushing to get out of there. But I was usually very aware that I was in a different space, and unlike school, they did make me feel like it. They treated me differently than everyone else. They even spoke differently. All I recognize that as code switch. That school forced me to speak standard English. The disproportionate amount of American media I consumed didn't help my accent either. While at the church, they predominantly spoke Patwa. I remember one time when I was in 7th grade, I was doing my homework at the church one evening, and one of the kids went up to me. They saw my pencil case, my probably transparent pencil case, and they straight up asked me, "Your parents let you get anything you want, don't they? You ask for anything, and they will give it to you." Cory's faced, probably for the first time, with how different his world is from Sean's.
You know, when I was growing up, there was a kid in my neighborhood who was a lot like Sean, always getting into trouble. But pretty soon, he got kind of bored, moved on to more serious stuff.
Dad, Sean's not like that.
I don't know, I think he is.
Sean is maybe what you might call an at-risk youth, and his life seems to be systemically on the trajectory to go a certain way.
Did you bring the stuff I asked for? It's empty.
But it becomes Cory's job as his friend to steer him in the right path.
Get out of my way, Cory, or
else what? You'll hit me?
What do you want from me?
I want you to come back on my side of the line.
Kind of a messiah thing going on, but as we will see going forward, this show is taken from Cory's point of view.
You're putting my puny plant in the ground?
Your plant, though immature and undeveloped, has within it the potential to grow and flower, with the help of a proper gardener.
One of the beliefs held by Christians is that God created humans with the capability of free will, given the options that he throws at us. We can choose to follow in his will or disobey. In either situation, he knows what we will choose, but he allows us the choice anyway, which I always found to be strange. A counter to that could be that even our supposed missteps are a part of his will. Everything has been mapped out, everything has been planned, all the chess pieces according to his will. The end is already known, and God will not allow anything to happen that he does not plan for according to his will. God creates a world with people in it knowing what they're going to do, whether our puny human minds can appreciate it or not. Every action has been predestined and works according to his plan. At least, that's how I always saw it. When God chose Saul to become the first king of Israel, and he turned out to be kind of a schmuck, did God make a mistake, or was this all a part of his divine plan? When all the humans fell off, and God decided to smite them with flood, was that a part of his plan too? Why make people, giving them the ability to do wrong, knowing that they are going to do wrong, only to smite them?
I need to know what's gonna happen to me, and you can't tell me that.
Season 2 is an almost complete tonal 180 from Season 1. The G. Willikers Zooey Mama vibe of Season 1 is replaced with a rock and roll rebel without a cause leather jacket edge that I cannot help but find hilarious. Boy Meets World is one of the only shows I've watched where the education system is somewhat similar to mine.
High school. What happens to us now will determine our entire futures.
This is it! High school! What happens to us now will determine our entire futures.
The tonal shift between Season 1 and 2 is the most accurate possible portrayal of how it felt for me to transition from elementary to high school. That's right, high school. Us 7th graders had to be sharing the same space as these hulking giants with cars and facial hair. I grew facial hair myself around 12 to 13ish, but this did not change the crazy fact that us shrimplets were having to compete with these grown-ass adults in the lunch line. My grade school, as I mentioned before, was a very sheltered private school, so my transition to the relatively large public high school was a lot. But I was optimistic, at least at first. My attitude was just about the same as Cory and Sean's going into high school. I also was going in with my best friend from grade school, and like Cory and Sean, we'd also end up going to uni together as well.
They took my clothes.
Who?
The seniors. Seniors took my clothes.
But like Cory, my bubble was inevitably burst. Though not quite as quickly or as stylishly.
Last year of high school again, huh? You thinking about going to college?
Yeah. This year I might even take the SOTs.
I didn't get to speak about him as much as I'd liked, but Stuart Minkus, easily the most entertaining character of season 1, played by maybe the best child actor who was ever on the show, Lee Norris,
I'm going to retaliate.
was literally willed out of existence by Cory and Sean at the end of the season finale.
They don't care about your experiment, Topanga. The only way to demonstrate the power of their selfish minds is to have them concentrate on something they really want to see happen.
In an effort to age up the show. A part of why Boy Meets World feels special and why I returned to it when I was 14 was that the show actually ages with its audience. Season 2 would shift from the family focus of the first season into school, where Cory and Sean would start dating, going to parties, dealing with bullies, and facing some of life's obstacles a bit more head-on. I counted, and more than half of these episodes are in some way focused on dating, which honestly kind of bored me.
I do my thing and you do your thing. You are you and I am I. And if in the end we end up together, it's beautiful.
Cory and Topanga at this point kinda know how they feel about each other, but they're not ready to be a thing yet. Instead, choosing to explore what's out there, which I actually think is healthy. A couple interesting episodes with their relationship though are Who's Afraid of Cory Wolf, where Cory's going through puberty.
There is a girl who cares deeply for you, but when the madness of the wolf comes upon you, you will repay her love by killing her in a gruesome, evil manner.
And is afraid of killing the only girl who cares about him.
You see hair and teeth and the beast within me.
No. I see Cory. The same Cory I've known since I was 3.
Wake Up Little Cory, where while doing an assignment where they interview each other for their thoughts about love and sex.
How do you feel about sex?
Me? Oh, well, some people say sex, great anywhere, anytime. Have you ever fallen in love?
5 times a day.
No, I'm a behind-the-camera kind of guy.
I'll run the camera.
No, I've established a visual style here. I'm a serious artist.
The two get in a little scandal where they accidentally, quote-unquote, sleep together.
5 more minutes, Mom.
Cory being praised and Topanga, of course, being slut-shamed.
Look, I didn't want to be in this documentary because I didn't have that much to say about sex and all.
What's this?
And the reason I don't have that much to say about sex is because I don't have a lot of experience in that area.
And fear strikes out, where at a makeout party, Cory gets shamed for being too nervous to swap spit with her in a closet.
You know, this is crazy. How am I supposed to kiss you with this blinding light in my eyes?
I am so glad I didn't grow up in 90s America. What kind of barbarous thing is that?
I'm Jonathan Turner. You can call me Mister.
This season introduces us to Jonathan Turner.
What is that, X-Men?
No, it's...
What, I don't know X-Men when I see it?
A younger, more progressive response to Mr. Feeney, who's still here, by the way.
Yes, George, I did assign a classic comic book.
I realize that you're the new groovy teacher.
Well, I just thought I might use the material to sort of relate to them on their level.
Their level is the level of the beasts of the field. I want them off that level and closer to our level. Or should I say, my level.
Turner would find himself developing the same kind of mentor relationship with the boys as Mr. Feeney had in the first season, though he especially had a bond with Sean, which escalates towards the end of the season.
Friday, Dylan's parents are going out of town.
Hey, Eric!
You know me?
Eric in this season is literally me. When my sister started coming to high school, when I was in my final year. Except, she and her friends kept coming to me, and somehow they weren't nearly as scared of us, big kids, the way we were of the seniors when we were their age. I kid you not. One day I was sitting down reading manga on my phone, and this shrimplet, this twig, came up to me and asked if I was watching hentai. Anyways, the season opens with Cory and Sean entering this brand new world, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, until Cory inevitably falls into the clutches of a couple Goliaths.
What'd I do?
You were almost in my way.
Joey the Rat and Frankie the Enforcer.
We were just looking for our homeroom. It's in there.
In there.
Right there. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Frankie is then called gay.
You know, if I was in my homeroom, I wouldn't be anywhere near your way.
Huh?
I think he's saying that if he was someplace else, he wouldn't be here.
What? You saying I'm gay?
Eventually, our boy invokes the wrath of their boss, local Don, the man, the myth, the legend, Harley Kiner.
Harley Kiner? How the heck are ya?
Kill him.
But once again,
Hey, look, it's a kid from when you was gay.
the bullies are actually my favorite part of this whole season by far, and that joke is maybe my favorite in the entire show. I'll tell you why. Jamaica's homophobia is famous, and while we've been getting better in more recent years, definitely at the time that I was in high school and the age of the characters here, being called gay or perceived as gay was literally the worst possible offense you could commit to a Jamaican man. I was first properly introduced to the concept of homosexuality when my godfather, very influential local pastor, was leading a massive anti-gay crusade live streamed on the radio. My mother explained to me that homosexuality is when a man likes another man, and God doesn't take too kindly to that sort of thing. The religious thing plus the past of how white slave owners used to publicly defile black men in a manner that I cannot describe on YouTube have resulted in the troubled relationship that Jamaican men have with the gays. Jamaican men refuse to ride bikes together because it would mean a man would have to hug another man. The number 2 is seen as a gay insult because of something having to do with poop.
I think he's saying that if he was someplace else, he wouldn't be here.
What? You saying I'm gay? No, I need to be alone with my thoughts.
I've had the exact interaction shown in this scene many times. Hell, I've been the guy who goes, "Are you calling me gay?" I won't act like all this time I've been above this nonsense, but there are definitely several guys I knew in high school who had such an obsession with homosexuality, going, "Oh, that's gay, you calling me gay? You like man?"
Is it a distraction being gay?
Over the most arbitrary, benign crap, to the point where it makes you wonder if they're repressing something.
Thank you.
What?
I've been holding it in for so long. Fellas, I'm gay.
That's okay, Rocco, so are we.
Like, there are 2 guys I can think of off the top of my head right now who I don't speak to anymore, who I now genuinely wonder if they've come out of the closet yet.
Why don't we treat this little rendezvous as a dress rehearsal for the many visits we'll undoubtedly have this year?
Cory earns himself a date with Harley Kiner's fist at the end of school when he gets in trouble with the new principal.
I just wanted to thank you for the chance of meeting our new school principal.
I'm very, very sorry.
I'll think nothing of it. By the way, Johnny B, do you think you can meet me in the senior bathroom, say around 3 o'clock?
But before he can get flattened, Eric steps in to defend him.
What are you doing here?
I have no idea.
Before they're both pancakified, Mr. Turner, like a superhero, steps in to cut Harley down to size.
Actually, it looks like you're about to pound this kid into the ground. That's a problem for me. See, because if one of my students gets killed the first day, I look bad.
Could I take you?
Nah.
Well, I could have taken the kid, though.
Good for you.
For the rest of the season, the bullies are recurring characters.
What the heck are you doing here?
Oh, we're making a documentary. It's about what everybody thinks about love and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. What's it about? Okay, sex is very beautiful, especially within the confines of a loving, monogamous relationship, preferably marriage.
That's really nice.
Hey, is it alright if I say hi to my kids?
Serving as both comic relief and a life threat to our characters.
Baboon, Joey tells me you're shooting a documentary in my hallway. Did I say you could shoot a documentary in my hallway?
Picture it. Sex. Starring Harley Kiner. What do you look for in a woman?
Well, that's a very personal subject I have many thoughts on. Joey.
Though they'd eventually be fizzled out. In one of the 110,000 skirt chasing episodes, probably my favorite of them, Cory would date Harley's sister Teresa.
Don't get to be friends. Slow it down a little. I'm not that kind of girl.
What are you doing with my sister?
Look, Harvey, I can explain it.
Harvey? You told him that?
Who made me realize that despite of how ambiguous it is, I do have a type.
You're a very polite fella. And your smile, it's kind of engaging.
I use the toothpaste with swirls.
There would be an episode wherein Frankie, soon to be my favorite character in the whole show,
Frankie Stechino, am in love.
Asks Cory and Sean for dating advice, only for us to learn that the guy he likes
You saying I'm gay?
is Harley's girlfriend.
What are you saying?
I love you.
I love you.
You do?
I've always loved you.
Giving us a truly surreal but wholesome scene wherein Harley goes to Cory's house to ask Amy for advice on how to treat women.
I'm a school chum of your son.
Eric?
No, the little squirrely one.
No! Let Mom alone, Kiner.
Eric!
You know who this is, Mom?
More tea, Harley?
Just a smidge.
But towards the end of the season, when things really start to cook, we get an episode where Sean starts hanging out with Harley and
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Hey, Jill. It's too bad Friday's all the way at the end of the week, huh?
Yeah, look, Sean, about Friday. I can't go out with you.
Listen, what's with Jill? Why'd she dump Sean?
Come on, Cory. I think it's pretty obvious. Sean and Jill don't exactly belong to the same, circle.
after being broken up with because of the type of guy he is and what his family does, Sean really internalizes this and grows distance from Cory.
Cory, you and I are different, and sooner or later we're gonna end up in different places.
Says who?
Why don't we both just do us a favor right now and call it quits, okay?
What has gotten into you?
You just don't get it, do you?
Deciding to hang out with the greasers and Susasamagas Kiner,
I was just wondering, do people turn out a certain way because of where they come from?
Cory goes to Feeney for advice, and he responds saying that
Personally, I believe that a man, no matter where he comes from, chooses his own path.
stick a pin in that. After Mr. Turner confronts Pseudo Kiner about keeping his student out of class,
Oh, am I getting a speech?
You get more than that if Hunter's not back in my class.
Kiner decides as an initiation rite, Sean must destroy Turner's bike. Cory, torn about the whole situation, goes to his father for advice.
It's stupid stuff, like where he lives, what snobby girls think.
I don't know for sure, but sometimes people can push you away just when they need you the most.
I think his advice is the best in the whole episode.
Yeah, I'm smelling chicken. A big one, extra crispy. I said we take him to the colonel. He'll pluck you, fry you, and serve you in a bucket with biscuits.
Ooh, I just remembered something.
Before Sean can destroy Turner's bike, Cory shows up to stop him.
Cory, come on, get out of here.
Here, let me go first.
Cory, let go.
No, I'm gonna try.
You're not even supposed to be here.
Yeah, well, neither are you.
Would you just let me do
Look,
this?
if you're gonna do this, Sean, then I'm gonna do
This is not your place, okay?
Then Turner, superhero of the whole season, chases the thugs off himself.
Oh, you think that was an accident? That you have a friend who thinks so much of you that he's willing to put his own neck on the line? No, I don't think lowlifes have friends like that, do you?
I don't know.
They don't.
I don't know anything. I don't even know who I am.
But somehow both he and we as the audience know that this problem is not yet resolved.
What else do you need to know?
I need to know what's gonna happen to me, and you can't tell me that.
For some reason this line got to me, and as I tend to do when watching the show, I started crying. One of the oddities about Boy Meets World is that the passage of time is ambiguous. In this season, they're written as being 12/13, and the next they're 14/15. The 7th and 8th grade are sort of mushed together, because in season 3, they're definitely either in the 9th grade or so. 7th grade was not as terrible and scary as I was expecting, because I had anticipated it, even looking forward to how I could reinvent myself. I joined several clubs, I even went to some school social events, which in retrospect I never enjoyed at all. What struck me down, though, I think in retrospect, was this one day when a bunch of us from my old class had a sort of unofficial reunion, because our grade school was having some function, and we still had ties there, siblings and such, so we all went and sort of reconnected. I don't remember much, but I do remember it being somewhat blissful. At one point, it started to rain, and while I was under my umbrella, my feet were getting wet. My friend remarked, your feet are getting wet. And I said jokingly, screw my feet. Then I got hit with a little silence. Oh, you've changed, I asked. What? You say those kinds of things now. I was then informed that screw was just a replacement for the F word. I didn't know that. I don't remember anything that happened after that, but I do remember leaving. I remember being in the car. I remember I kind of curled up and silently cried. I think I might have cried the whole way home. I was in a bad mood after that. I think I stayed in that bad mood for the next year. This was one of those moments I never really understood, but in retrospect, I think I get why that happened. Like, I promise you, all these people swear way more than me now, but I think on that day I realized that life, as it was gone. I had something, and I had permanently lost it. Or maybe I'd gained something that I realized I couldn't get rid of. From here on, I would only look stranger and stranger to the people with whom I'd spent my most formative years, and they would only look stranger to me. What would have been the most blissful, innocent days of my childhood were now gone. They were gone, and they were never coming back.
Sorry I'm late. Well, actually, I was out in the hall having a smoke. Don't endorse it. Don't deny it.
In Career Day, we meet Sean's father, Chet Hunter. It starts out very Cory POV as usual, with Alan the grocer embarrassing Cory and himself by presenting such an apparently basic job.
I'd like to think we do more than sell lettuce and pickles and potato chips. We sell dreams.
What aisle?
But when Chet tells Sean that his mother Verna has taken off with their house,
See, that's the problem with having a mobile home. It's, you can move it.
the story takes a turn. Sean is now quite literally homeless. Chet sets him up to sleep in a sketchy motel, but maybe out of instinct,
Hi, Mr. Turner. Sorry for bugging you. Am I interrupting anything?
he goes to Turner's apartment.
Since you're gonna be staying down the road, I mean, feel free to drop by. I mean, we could eat, we could talk, or not talk. So, Sean, I mean, anytime you just...
And I cried again. Chet reveals that he'll be gone for a couple weeks, and Sean must stay with the Matthews for a while.
Cor, that's nothing.
It's everything, Dad. I mean, I was thinking I was the son of a grocer, but now I know what I really am is the son of my father.
And Cory learns to appreciate his father. In the next episode, Home, a month later, the Matthews and Sean are sick of each other.
Oh, really? You hear that, Amy? Nutritional tips from the Hunter family.
And Sean is just so... Morgan, wouldn't you just love to go watch TV right now?
No.
They're doing their best, but...
I know. I'm just glad that Sean has Cory and Eric to make things easier for him.
Well, pardon me, Eric, for breathing your lucky air.
Sean runs away. He winds up at Turner's house after having been nabbed by the cops.
He's a cop.
Soon after learning that Chet will be gone indefinitely,
I don't think it's fair to Sean or to us to live with this kind of open-ended commitment. If you're not coming back right now, then you be the one to tell your son.
Well, if I know my boy even money when adults are talking about him, he's probably somewhere behind them listening. Hi there, big guy.
None of you want me. Well, that's fine. I don't need any of you. I never needed anybody.
the season ends with Mr. Turner reaching out to Sean to move in with them.
For how long? 3 weeks and then you get sick of me?
Well, I'm sick of you now, Hunter, but I'm still making the offer.
Why?
Because I'm thinking I should do something for somebody else.
My 13th year was truly the most miserable time of my life, probably because I was 13. I think I've experienced heavier things since, but at that age, I realized things were different and only going to become stranger, and my mind just couldn't process it. Not only was I growing and going through all the terrible things that happen when you are 13, not only was my school life becoming increasingly chaotic both academically and socially, but like Sean, my home life was undergoing big changes as well. I think at that age, all the changes just messed me up, and my pubescent adolescent brain was just drowning in it all. These were the days of Linkin Park and way too much anime. I would go to sleep early to make the days go by faster. When I wasn't sleeping, I'd watch Hunter x Hunter and PewDiePie, the worst days of PewDiePie at that. I just truly hated everything and everyone, and only through escapism could I feel anything. Anything at all. Sean in these episodes reminds me of the feeling where everything is going a little wrong and you don't know what's going to happen or who to depend on, and you just need someone somewhere to tell you what's going to happen to you.
You think I'm all right?
I think you need to think you're all right.
You think I'm all right?
I think If you put your mind to it and get back inside that school, never go near this Harley or that Harley. Yeah, I think you'll be all right.
My 14th, however, would be a small renaissance. In the tradition of Hinduism, fate is a bit more complicated. A human soul goes through cycles: birth, life, death, and rebirth. Samsara. It is not as cut and dry start to end as the Abrahamic religions, and while souls do experience some kind of fatalist inevitability, it is not quite as rigid as God said so. Instead, souls reap and sow. Karma follows a soul and works in tandem with the soul's place in the universe.
Jedediah and Chloe say that every time you're not true to yourself, the earth weeps.
In some traditions of Hinduism and Buddhism, there's a concept called Dharma. Dharma refers to the way that the universe works, the right way at least.
The word dharma in Hinduism is a most confusing word. There are only two letters in it, dharma. You shall find that the meaning of that little two-lettered word will be about 3 columns every page, and at the end of it, the author of it has written there as etc., etc.
It is all contentious. Some view it as a matter of morality relating to duty that one must serve to the universe. Others see it as being the natural order of things.
The universe will catch up with us. I trust the universe.
In Buddhism in particular, it is seen as the universal empirical truth, and then there are those who view it as not a matter of religion at all, but simply a word to describe the laws of nature. Among all these traditions, we arrive at the general idea that Dharma is, in a nutshell, the way the world works, a person's destiny, and the role they fulfill in this world.
So the common dharma of all living beings, plant, animal and human, is the supreme dharma, sanatana dharma, the most ancient dharma, that which is in your heart, which enlivens everything.
I was 14 when I finally revisited Boy Meets World, now having been the first non-Japanese piece of traditional media that I'd consumed since being swallowed by my weeb phase. It was at this age, I think, where I started to become the person who I am now. And in Boy Meets World, I'd argue, the same goes for our characters, for better or worse.
If I had to dream up the perfect woman, she wouldn't even come close to you. Would you be my girlfriend?
Season 3 would be when Cory and Topanga would first start officially dating, and their origin story would be almost completely rewritten.
Do you remember the time when we were in my backyard, chasing fireflies? Eric came outside and started teasing us.
He said, Cory loves Topanga. You said, yeah, I hate her.
That's when I knew.
Cory, we were only 6.
We see Sean and Mr. Turner living together and dealing with the complications and drama that stems from there.
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Eric would first start to have something resembling an arc as we start to see him actively trying to prepare for college.
No, I'm not gonna try to snow you. I know I deserve what I got, but I'm trying to turn things around so I can get into college.
Study.
Come on, I'm being serious.
The bullies would start to be written out of the show as Frankie and Joey gain their independence from Lackydom when Harley returns from military school to confront their new boss, Griff.
I know what I gotta do. Griff, I quit. Harley, I quit. I can't be a lackey no more.
I don't want to be a lackey no more either. I want to be my own man.
Frankie, my favorite character in the whole show, would hold on for a bit longer, even going into the next season. I'll tell you why.
Come here, friends.
There's an episode in this season where we see Frankie try to reform from thug life when Joey gets sent away. Feeny tells him to go to Cory and Sean to be better influences for him, but they end up exploiting him as well.
We value your friendship very much. Dry cleaning.
They got the stain out.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, young man. You're too kind.
Frankie, where are you going?
I need to be alone and reflect.
The thing about Frankie and why I spend this time talking about him despite him being the most minor recurring characters at this point.
Mind if I sit with you guys?
Is that the gag of his character from the very start is that he's way more complicated than the show can allow him to be. He is a visual gag.
Out of respect, I come to you, the father of young Morgan Matthews, to discuss, shall we say, a dating situation.
Amy, call the cops.
Herman?
Subject to fat jokes, especially next to the comically smaller Joey the Rat.
I said we take him to the colonel. He'll pluck you, fry you, and serve you in a bucket with biscuits.
Ooh, I just remembered something.
Yet he's this poetic soul with insecurities and hang-ups.
Have any of you ever really looked at Frankie's taquino?
Yeah, upside down.
I bet nobody here knows that this man has a very poetic soul.
You know, he does. I mean, he goes to poetry readings.
Yeah, that's right.
There's an internal logic to Boy Meets World and shows like it. Certain tropes that they must adhere to, story beats that are to be expected, and they are told from a certain, arguably narrow perspective. The universe has its own dharma, or will of God, in its internal logic, but what's really interesting about the show, especially from this point going forward, is that it seems agonizingly aware of it, and even tries to challenge it. When I was 14, I met most of the people who I would still call my friends now, even outside of school. At my school, they switched up all the homeroom classes, probably because that's the age when people start getting really annoying, but here's where I met my squad. This was the age where I had consumed all of my formative media like Vagabond, Ashton Joe, JoJo, and Oyasumi PunPun. Yes, I read PunPun at the age of 14. I didn't die. Calm down. Truly my golden age of weebdom. But it was also the age when I realized that my self-esteem had completely evaporated. Probably because of all the damage inflicted upon my mind the year before. Me and the boys would argue about which anime characters could be the other in the fight, and me and the girls would draw and talk about our futures. After getting into an argument one time, I, on a whim, wrote a 6-page essay about why Fairy Tail is the worst anime series of all time. It was so fun, and from then on I continued writing about media I had strong feelings about. Me and 2 other people planned to move to Japan and succeed in the animation, gaming, and manga industry.
Garuga mess!
2 of us are currently still studying in Coconut Land, and the other is in Germany. That summer, I pursued 2 large creative projects. One was a large tribute to Shonen Jump's 50th anniversary, where I drew the protagonists of 50 of those series, and the other was a 72-page manga one-shot that I worked on day and night, probably just to prove to myself that in spite of all the odds, I could. I was going to see my future, my destiny. Oh god, I'm more like Cory Matthews than I thought.
I don't have anything else of yours.
Yeah, you do. You have all my feelings about you, and I don't have any of yours.
This is the era of Casanova Cory. Seasons 1 and 2, Cory Matthews I'd call Kid Cory, but that sweet young boy has now been assassinated, and from this season on, has been replaced by a truly lovesick fool.
Hello.
He and Topanga have now apparently been in love with each other for their entire lives. We saw glimpses of it in Season 2, but Season 3 would fully operate on the logic that these 2 are destined to be together, and always have been.
Topanga?
Yeah?
I love you.
Episode 3 would have Cory break into Topanga's bedroom when she doesn't tell him she loves him back.
I'm not even sure I know what I love you means now.
All I know is you and I belong together. I've always been able to talk to you, and I've always wanted to take care of you.
The whole scene is played as a grand romantic gesture, clearly drawing visual parallels to Romeo and Juliet.
Pick up the knife and kill yourself.
But you know, he's sort of gaslighting her into doing what he wants.
I love you too.
I was always hoping you did.
But it's destiny! The internal logic of the show is now on his side. In a later episode, they amicably split when they realize they're in a rut.
Cory, maybe the people who end up hating each other are the people who waited too long to break up.
So are you saying you want to break up with me?
I want to keep caring about you as much as I care about you now.
But the end of the episode suggests that the red string of fate still firmly binds them together. Sean's story sees some development as well. In the last season, Sean more or less established himself as a girl of the week, Gallus Pro, but in The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, he falls in love with a girl for the first time and doesn't know what to do with himself.
I really liked her.
She seems like the type of girl that'd end up with me.
Saying I can't end up with nice girls?
Then, starting a vital character trait that is here to stay even in the Girl Meets World, we see him jealous of Cory.
What are you doing?
I remembered you said you like picnics. So I figured, why wait till spring? You say I'm not boyfriend material, and maybe I'm not. But why won't you give me a chance to try?
wanting to base his life around what he has. There is another episode, however, when they get into conflict, when Cory gets some footage of some of Sean's relatives at his trailer park, recording a happy birthday message for Sean's dad.
Action!
Happy birthday, Chet! For all the hunters, here at this undisclosed location.
He accidentally captures footage of Sean's half-brothers with some stolen equipment.
What do you know? The guy's a closet nerd.
Or maybe it's not his.
But when he tries to turn the footage in to the police, Sean snaps at him.
Here. So what are you doing? You had no right to do that. It's my family. I can do whatever I want.
And they have their first physical fight.
Why are you acting like I did something?
I said let go of me.
All right, let's see what you got, Hunter.
No, Cory, you don't want to do this.
Yeah, I do.
Hunter Matthews?
Did you guys know you were fighting each other?
It's intense. In the end, Sean learns that family is something that can be chosen.
Actually, I have very little family in Philadelphia. I get together with a small circle of very close friends. It's really quite nice. We laugh, we reminisce. Pretty much what you've always done with the Matthews.
And he stands with Cory.
I remember you. You're Sean's friend.
Yeah, and he was filming us.
You have no idea how much trouble you're in.
Sean, back off, Eddie. You touch this guy again, and you've got me to deal with.
This might be a cultural difference, but I am actually on Sean's side on this one. While it's nice to see Sean protect Cory, I think he should at least try to help those in his community who are less fortunate than him.
I'll turn you in.
Come on, man, I'm your brother.
I'll do it if I have to.
Like you're so much better than me.
I'm on my way to be.
I don't like that holier-than-thou moralistic tone he has going on. Plus, I mean, selling them out to the damn cops isn't... that ain't it, I don't know.
Hi. I'm a romantic guy, so to me, love is very important. And you girls will be surprised to learn that I'm currently available.
I haven't been speaking about Eric as much as I want. He actually might be my second favorite character under Frankie. But throughout this season, mostly through silly B-plots, we've been seeing him taken directly under the wing of Mr. Feeney. He even takes him to the opera.
All right, Mr. Feeney, look, it's a nice try, it's a nice plan, but don't you see, this kind of stuff is lost on a guy like me. Wait, I know this. Oh, this is Bugs Bunny!
Eric is not good at school, but he is very charismatic. Like Sean, we don't really know how he's going to end up.
Eric! My brother Eric! That's my brother Eric!
Oh, check it out.
While he mainly serves as comic relief, and later the show will fully treat him as a walking circus act, here is where the character is given some real emotional stakes.
Why don't you let him apply?
Wait a sec, there's an internship?
Yeah, hands-on experience, extra credit.
Wait, at a real TV station? That's so cool! Sign me up, Mr. Williams!
Whoa, Eric, there's only one spot available. There's gonna be a lot of competition.
The B-plot of The Heart of the Lonely Hunter sees Eric get accepted for an internship for a news station.
This just in, Eric Matthews is a huge loser.
Why is he a loser?
Because I wasn't myself.
Oh, man, I really wanted this job. All those straight A guys want is something to put on their resume. This is everything to me. I need it more.
Did you tell her that?
I just choked in front of the most important person at the station.
No, you didn't.
Oh.
Pat Darby, station manager.
Where?
Right here.
Eric has always dreamed of being a weatherman, and this can be seen even from earlier episodes. But when the regular weatherman, Mr. J. Peterman from Seinfeld,
I have you turn my office into a den of iniquity! You have got your fix somewhere else! Wet gone, Peter!
which was actually shot next to the show at this point, if I'm not mistaken, falls ill, Eric gets his big break.
You do a good job, we both look good. You screw up, don't.
Eric's whole college/weatherman story arc is one of the most directly relatable things in the entire show for me. If you are new here, you may know that whenever I mention high school, I call it hell in the same breath. Like Eric, I have my own skill sets and interests. I've always kind of known what I want to do, but school, which is the place where we are made to spend most of our formative years to train us for the future we are to pursue, simply did not cater to those interests at all.
What you're seeing is the flaw in our public education system.
Yeah, I'm seeing the flaw.
I never did badly per se, but towards the latter few years of high school especially, I was so done with the whole thing. I would have killed for an opportunity like what Eric gets in these episodes.
I'm actually here to talk about your history paper and the classes you've missed.
Eric, Mr. Feeney says that you're in serious danger of not graduating.
Eric starts stitching school to work at the station, literally living his dream, and I'm here for it. However, on the eve of his 18th birthday, Mr. Feeney needs him to get some work done or else he can't graduate.
Done? When do you need it?
On my desk by 3 o'clock Friday.
Ooh, not my 5-day forecast. I'm on call all week.
Well, put it in your forecast, pal. You're doing that essay.
You can't be asking me to give up the station. I mean, I finally found something I'm good at.
Eric announces that he's quitting school.
I'm not going.
The next day is heartbreaking.
Now, you may be some big shot weatherman down at Channel whatever it is, but here, you're still my son living in my house.
You two don't realize how important this job is to me.
Eric.
What?
Happy birthday.
Thanks, Mom.
Alan.
Alan refuses to wish him happy birthday when he goes to work, and at the office, Eric learns that they are getting a real weather reporter to start doing the job again.
I'll see you tomorrow, Philadelphia.
And we're out.
Guys, thank you so much. What a nice thought. Hey, I'm cutting the cake.
Look, there's not a nice way to tell you this. I got a real weatherman coming down from Boston.
I'm sorry?
He then loses the internship entirely when they tell him that the internship is only open to students.
No, Pat, don't do this to me. I mean, you can't take this away from me. This is all I have.
Alan ends up consoling Eric, who then pledges to do well in school.
Happy birthday, son.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Sean's relationship with Mr. Hunter soon comes to a boiling point when the pressure of adoption rolls on.
A couple of signatures, and I'm your legal guardian.
I thought you did that months ago.
Well, I got the forms, I just never got around to filling them out.
Got around to filling them out?
Chet's calls are getting fewer and farther between, and Sean is feeling increasingly unloved. This prompts Cory and not quite platonic friend Topanga to take a bus, trying to convince Chet to come back for his son.
It's me, Cory Matthews.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
No, I'm Sean's friend.
Oh, right. John's better off where he is now than he ever could be with a man like me.
Mr. Turner's great and all, okay, but he's his friend. He's not his father. You are.
Sean gets arrested for using Turner's bike to go and find him.
What if you'd have lost control of the bike?
I didn't.
Yeah, but Sean, what if you had?
But I didn't.
You could have hurt someone, and I'd be legally responsible.
Oh, so that's why you're so upset. You don't want to be legally responsible for me.
That's a cheap shot, and you know it.
And Chet ends up in jail himself.
How'd you ever find me here?
Better question. How'd you find yourself here?
I moved out of Turner's. I was gonna move in with Uncle Mike, but his trailer's gone. So a cop found me sleeping in the park and brought me here.
In any case, Chet ends up taking Sean back as they attempt to start over.
You know, John, this is like we said. We knew that this wasn't forever.
Hey, a roof and a bed.
And a good friend.
I'll do it again.
Yet still we get the feeling that this story is not quite over. The next episode wraps up Cory and Topanga's temporary separation as Cory and Sean chase her to Disney World, where some of the students went on a trip.
Well, we better get started. It could take days.
It's pretty blatantly a network-mandated pro-Disney propaganda episode that they also use to get the couple back together.
Well, I'm not a prize, and I hate it when guys chase me. And the more they chase me, the more I get turned off.
Perhaps making the whole event seem more magical.
I mean, you're dressed in silly outfits. You swam with sharks.
I know. There were sharks in there?
I mean, it was like you were not going to give up no matter what.
Look, how many times do I have to tell you I'm sorry?
I never realized these things came from your heart. We did break up for a reason, right?
Yeah, we did. So we could get back together.
It worked. I cried.
Hey, your brother's here for another week.
Yeah, Cor. Why don't you come sit with us? Eric's telling us about his trip.
I'm not really interested in Eric's trip.
The end of the season sees a reboot of the pilot. Eric has now graduated and sets off for a pre-college road trip, despite having not yet been accepted to any of his schools.
There's Eric, always leaving. Why should I be surprised, right? Hey, Cor, want to shoot some hoops? Oh, wait, here comes Janice. Or, hey, Cor, want to ride to school? Wait, my friends want rides, sorry.
Sean is going on a trip with his father, and Topanga is going to an all-girls summer camp. Cory's left melancholic as he will be left alone.
Your high school diploma.
It's a tough watch as Cory's more self-centered side emerges again.
Hang on, I do have a toast to make. Attention, everybody!
But the world sort of bends to accommodate him this time around.
It's my brother Eric, who's moving out. And not just for 4 years, probably forever. And I don't even know him.
Unlike the pilots, the ending concludes that rather than having to deal with this necessary rite of passage, Eric has to make things right with his brother.
Matthew sees Matthew set up for the 3. He feeds Matthews. Matthew shoots.
It even turns out that Cory nabbed Eric's acceptance letter from the college, only for us to get the twist that
I didn't get in. It's my mistake thinking I could slack off for 3.5 years, work hard for 2 months and get in.
Cory and Eric then go on the road to reconnect.
I'm gonna take that trip. First thing in the morning.
Why wait?
I gotta wait for you to go home and pack.
An interesting return to focus on the brothers' relationship.
2 months on the road. Can't think anybody else I'd rather share the car with.
But it's also one of the first clear indications that something about the universe of Boy Meets World has fundamentally changed.
Religion. যে জিনিস মানুষে মানুষে বিভেদ সৃষ্টি করে আমি তাকে মানি না সে একই কারণে আমি জাতও মানি না
Many people have become skeptical about tradition and fundamentalist beliefs in general because they seem to have, regardless of their original intent, historically been used and are still used as tools by people in power to maintain control. All religious texts are written, preached, received, and perceived by humans, full of bias, deviating perspectives, and worldviews, constantly in motion, constantly in change, across all stretches of human history. This is why it's so difficult to talk about, and I always have to say things like many Christians and certain versions of Dharma, because this stuff just isn't that simple. The rigid adherence to the words in these old stories can easily be used to spread ideas that are convenient for people distributing them, whether that be some set order of things at institutions of power called Dharma, certain versions of it, or some coming day of judgment for people whose lifestyles don't fit a certain standard, or an alleged land promised to a race or nation of people by their god. The word homosexual did not exist until the 19th century, yet the Christian Bible currently has it plastered all over the place, which is, a bit odd. Crap like this is why people who've been left on the margins of society or otherwise isolated by these institutions of power tend to be a bit cautious of things like prophecies, destiny, and fate. Who's really talking here? Who really wrote these books? Even if they are truly preaching based on what they believe to be true, why is it that some people are granted more direct access to this truth than others? And why are those others just willing to buy into this idea that God would simply rather speak through them? On my channel, on at least half of my videos, I have tossed strays at fundamentalism, particularly in the Christian tradition, because it's the only one I feel entitled to do so due to my being force-fed Bible stories quite literally before I was capable of speech, despite knowing that every time I do that I'll get hit with at least 10 people rebutting with the oh so insightful, Jesus loves you.
Hey, Scotty. Jesus, man.
I do it partially for the sake of dispelling some of the brewing storms of regret, fear, and dread in my heart, and partially for the reasons I have just discussed. What I really want to do with my channel, at least what I think, is show people things from a perspective they may not have otherwise considered, and encourage them to not blindly follow the ways of the world. And this is the Christian philosophy that I was raised with. It is the one that has also made me a bit skeptical of the church and how I was raised. For every little jab, I don't want it to come across that I hate these ideas or these people. I think it's sacrilegious to claim to completely know what God wants. People, does it really make even the slightest bit of sense for God to make men who love men and kill them for it? Maybe it does in a way we can't understand with our pathetic mortal minds. Or maybe a bunch of white guys in 1940s America switched some words around. At the ages of 15 and 16, I was mentally zoinked out of school. I got into cinema and was, since that 14th summer, actively engaged in some creative project at every moment, in spite of the fact that I had no time for any of that. In school, my soul felt like it was leaving my body, and my only tether to sanity would be the couple chapters of manga that I read, half dead, in the twilight hours of the morning, and the Charlie Chaplin films I watched at the break of dawn. I got into bedroom pop and psychedelic rock because that was the closest thing I had to drugs. Season 4 is generally seen as the best season of Boy Meets World, and upon this viewing, I actually have to agree. While honestly, to my shock, the season that hit the hardest for me is still to come. Season 4, I must say, is easily the show at its most immaculate. Classic episode after classic episode. From Hair Today, Goon Tomorrow, where Cory edges on his rope with his hair insecurity.
No! Whoa, Cory, come on, you're gonna cut your fingers.
Prompting Topanga to cut hers off.
Words, Topanga, use your words.
She's gonna scream now.
The Shallow Boy, where Eric becomes the subject of the grunge breakup song of the century.
Oh, see, it's not just that. I want to put you on a rocket ship and send you to the planet Flafluga.
I would've given you my heart. I would've given up who I am. But you trampled on my soul. 'Cause you don't understand. You're shallow. You're shallow.
I'm famous.
The Chick Like Me, where Cory and Sean do drag to discover misogyny.
Now, what you need to have is a real light touch.
What is wrong with you?
I'm just showing you how to play the game.
I know how to play the game.
Yeah, I could tell by the way you're dressed.
What? I just wanted to look nice.
To Turkey Day, where the Matthews family learns to confront their class prejudice.
Ted, if our dinner guest is not comfortable with our plasticware, I think it's only right we accommodate him with a regular metal fork.
Our forks don't match.
Oh, you know, I remember so well that our forks and spoons didn't match when we were starting out.
On both the comedic and dramatic fronts, the writing is tighter than ever. Characters and their performance feel like they're the most realized. I love this show so much. This video could be 7 hours long. I will literally go on writing detailed paragraphs on every single episode and why they hit, and I know some of you do want that, but alas, I must cook.
It would be very easy for me to tell you that I have dedicated the last 38 years to several thousand young minds, and that is my chief joy and reason for getting up in the morning. Except it isn't. I teach because I like it, and because it's fun for me.
Season 4 picks up right where the last one left, with Eric and Cory nearing the edge of their trip, but Eric is hesitant to go home because he has nothing to return to.
Please, just come to your senses and tell me we're leaving. At home, I'm a loser. Here, I find happiness. You're trying to take it from me. No, Eric, you didn't find happiness. You just pulled off the road.
Honestly, I can't blame him. This season will have Eric do what is ostensibly his gap year, as by the end, he is motivated to try his SATs again, and he finally does get into college.
Just tell me! They're charging an arm and a leg.
And they want you there like a week before Labor Day for some kind of orientation deal.
I'm in. I'm in! I'm in!
I've never liked how pro-traditional education system Boy Meets World is. If you're doing poorly in school, you're lazy. If you flunk out or skip college, you're either a single mother or deadbeat. Eric is eventually convinced to return home, and soon enough lands a job working for his father again, when the Matthews family buys a wilderness shop.
I mean, it's okay to do this?
Alan, we give you permission to take a risk. Now you look around, and if you can tell me from your heart that none of this is going to make you happy, then we will walk out that door and we will discuss something else.
When I took my gap year at 17, it was because I hated high school. I didn't want to go to college, which at first glance is ironic considering that now not only am I doing really well in university, but I'm considering going for a master's. And part of me is even considering getting the PhD and becoming a professor myself. Why it isn't ironic though, is because much of what I am learning now and am interested and excelling in is stuff that I taught myself and found out I was interested in because of my gap year. I was truly being stifled in high school, and while I don't necessarily recommend dropping out because of all the risks, kids watching, I know I have some younger people here, please do not take this as an endorsement of dropping out. I was not learning at damn thing in that prison. And I already did know what I wanted to do. My parents had the grace of giving me the compromise of taking a year to not go into employment or any kind of school so I could figure myself out, and if my career took off in that time, I could run free. Thankfully it didn't, because while I learned and did a lot, I had gaping blind spots. I still have gaping blind spots. And reintegrating into formal training in the form of university and society in general has been of massive value.
Get off your butt. Get a job.
Thank you, Daddy.
Eric, though, doesn't seem to have a lot of those problems. I don't know what he's going into college to study. He seems significantly less smart by the time he leaves. In Girl Meets World, it is heavily suggested that he might be homeless. But he had so many things going for him, and he's from an upper middle class family that can support him. But in the law of Boy Meets World, education is key.
Yeah, sure. What do you got there? I'm trying to get into college, and this is the book that helps you prepare for the entrance exam.
Wait a second, I thought you said that back home you were like an engineer or something.
Here they don't know that. I must start over.
According to an episode of the podcast, it's actually a choice by Jeff Sherman, one of the writers of the show, and they actually weren't planning to have him go to college. Michael and much of the staff either skipped or dropped out of college themselves. Sherman's rationale is reasonable, though, in that he didn't want Eric to be treated as stupid, ironic considering what happened to him in the college years. But he also did deliberately write it to convince people at home to pursue college. Will has said in interviews that many people have come up to him saying that Eric's arc convinced them to pursue college. But I do still think that there is a missed opportunity to establish that college education isn't some automatic indication of intelligence. Believe me, lots of complete boneheads get into good schools. That stuff does not mean much. Anyways, that's my soapbox TED Talk for now. Let's talk about Sean.
It's gonna be okay, son.
It is?
Season 4 would feature the return of Sean's mother, Verna Hunter.
For the rest of my life, I'm gonna be the best father you could have.
Dad?
Who Cory ends up convincing to give her family another chance.
Well, if they miss you and you miss them, then why aren't you guys together?
I suppose I could just go over there. We'd all have ourselves a big emotional reunion. 5 minutes would go by, and then where would we be?
Well, you'd be a family.
No, we'd just be together.
We don't know for certain why she left, it's left very vague. But in the episode Dangerous Secret, we get some more insight.
Sean.
Claire? Sean?
The very special episode was a phenomenon of old sitcoms where they'd break form a bit to tackle a serious topic. A part of what makes Boy Meets World feel so special is that many of these episodes, particularly in Season 4, could fall under this category, but this right here might have been the heaviest. Cory thinks Sean is hooking up with a girl he's having over for the night, which prompts him to start to try things with Topanga.
Well, I just think we're old enough.
Old enough to do what?
Look, Sean had a girl stay over last night, and he hardly even knows her.
Who justifiably gets mad at him for trying to keep up with his friend.
Why? So you can keep up with your buddy?
That alone would be a good message, but we then learn why Sean is actually having her stay with him.
The reason she's been staying at my place, her dad hits her.
What do you mean he hits her?
At night, sometimes. He yells a lot and beats her up.
They try to deal with it themselves, but after it escalates, they decide to do the right thing and report the situation to the authorities.
Hey, guys, if you've got a friend in serious trouble, then the only thing you have to respect is how to get her the right kind of help.
I'm gonna stop him.
How?
I'm going to the police.
In the episode, they say police, but really, it should be Child Protective Services. This is a perspective that I really got while listening to the podcast, but it is suggested that Sean might be behaving the way he is in this situation because he might also be getting abused, or has been abused in the past.
Dad, he's the vice president of a bank.
Good job, fancy home, a low-life creep.
Well, we should probably go to the police.
No, I'm a kid from a trailer park, and he's the vice president of a bank. I mean, who do you think they're gonna listen to?
Well, then at least let me tell my parents. I mean, they should know what...
Cory, you just swore that you wouldn't tell anyone.
And could also explain why his mother runs off. This could also explain why, in the episode The Fugitive from Season 1, he felt the need to run away.
What do I do now, though? I can't go home.
It's not like you did it on purpose.
But I did it. That's the only part my old man's gonna hear.
We never know for sure what the situation is, but this brief spot in the season where Sean's family is all together has a strange, kind of sad feel to it. Like they're desperately trying to make this thing work, but the world, the hand of God, or fate might have other plans. Before we progress, I'd like to tell you a story about one Kevin Arnold and Winnie Cooper. Cory, Sean, and Eric were not the first boys to meet the world. Born into the chaotic world of the 1960s, Kevin and his siblings grew up in the picket-fenced suburbs where everything was within reach. You could run over to play with your friends and not worry about getting kidnapped. On his street there was a weird girl, Winnie Cooper, who he would always make fun of, but her older brother was the one he really looked at. A symbol of the grown-up Kevin wanted to be Brian Cooper. One day though, in the summer of '67, he left the confines of the suburbs to help his country fight off the alleged foreign threat of communism in Vietnam. Soon after though, some news came back to the suburbs.
Brian Cooper was killed.
The world never seemed quite the same since then. The white picket fence seemed to be splattered with a streak of red, and Winnie seemed different as well. Kevin and Winnie would continue to discover themselves and each other over the next few years. Something took away the squirrely girl Kevin always threw dirt at, and something seemed different about him as well. Kevin would continue to grow, along with his friends, meet the world, find himself, and Winnie Cooper would grow up along with him, and they fell for each other. The world of the Wonder Years is quite similar but also very different to Boy Meets World. Here we are told the story in hindsight, from the eyes of a grown Kevin Arnold.
But it was like he had this understanding with the family. He worked hard for us, he provided for us, and he certainly didn't want to have to talk to us on top of that.
Coming of age in the turbulent late 60s and early 70s, now telling us the story in the world of the late 80s and early 90s. We are taken with him as he grows, but there is a soberness in how he tells it. It's not that he doesn't care, but the tone is almost impressionistic.
Where we went didn't matter. Getting away was all that counted.
Winnie Cooper does not feel like a real person, and his memories of her are just that, a memory. Same for his relationship with the homie Paul Pfeiffer. What we're seeing in the Wonder Years is the hazy memory of a certain time and a certain place.
Come on, guys. Let's go pick up some chicks. Yeah. Women.
Chicks. The reason God invented cars.
The thing is, when I'm watching the Wonder Years, I'm not any of these characters. I don't relate to them at all. In fact, they kinda... I hate Kevin, alright? I hate his guts. Kevin Arnold is the blueprint of the scumbag teenage white boy, and I hate him, but I don't think the show is necessarily trying to preach to us.
Paul, who cares? It's just the guys, and we're playing poker. Don't make such a big deal out of it, okay? Okay?
I think we're just getting a glimpse at a certain time, and a certain place, and a certain people, as it is in the memory of one person. Even if that person's impressions are built out of the collective consciousness of a society's mythos.
Once I wished I was a duck, 'cause mostly ducks have lots of luck.
Beaver, I think that's very, very cute. Hey, Beaver, you still think you'll get a prize for that?
So, how do you feel Ward and June handled their family problem?
They were too perfect.
Too TV.
No, you are. You're nice and you're sweet. And to tell you the truth, well, you've always sort of reminded me of Beaver Cleaver.
Ouch. Same one that birthed Cory and Topanga, but unlike them, Kevin and Winnie's story is.
What do you mean you don't know?
I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I wish everyone would just leave me alone. I don't know what I'm doing.
As opposed to an ought.
I'm not even sure I know what I love you means now.
All I know is you and I belong together. I've always been able to talk to you, to make you laugh.
Kevin and Winnie are on again, off again. Throughout the show, half the time I don't really know why they're on. Half the time they don't either. Kevin cheats on her or eyes other girls lots of the time, and she actually does that as well. They both stumble through it, but try to make their relationship work. It does feel like they're somehow connected by a red string somewhere, a long mangled red string, but at the same time, it does also feel forced. I wouldn't have minded Kevin switch to Mangeline in season 4 after taking a break from Winnie. I honestly wished she just left him the entire last season of the show, when Kevin ostensibly used her as a canvas to rant about his problem of the week that you can also make out to.
Decided to put an end to my wrestling career.
That must really hurt.
Then again,
but throughout all the thick and thin, they're stuck together as a sort of symbol of adolescent affection, a memory of a childhood ideal. But they are just that, a memory, one to be looked back on as a sign of a simpler time, back when you were young and stupid. How you feel about the long walk to Pittsburgh depends on how you feel about the Cory and Topanga narrative altogether.
This is really bad, huh?
You're my best friend, and I know how young and stupid this is, but I've always believed that we'd be together for the rest of our lives.
How come there's so many boxes in your room?
Cory learns that Topanga's mother has gotten a job in Pittsburgh, and so her family is set to leave. He can't accept this. Sean assures him that she can't leave.
I have seen this plot 1,000 times, and it always ends exactly the same. The girlfriend never moves away.
This happens on TV, and trust me...
It's not TV. Trust me. Now, the doctor on ER, she really left. What about her? ER is real.
Cory and Topanga are fated to be together, and this is one of the first episodes that zeroes in on that theme. Besides...
You don't really think she's gonna leave, do you? No, I don't. And why not? Because you don't deserve that kind of pain.
At the age of 16, exam season was actively stifling my soul, and I was beginning to feel distant from everyone around me. I now truly felt as though I was just a shell walking. This was not where I was supposed to be or what I was supposed to be doing.
Cory, what are you saying? My parents are in the car waiting for me.
No, you're not moving because we're supposed to be together like we've always talked about, so you can't move.
Cory does not tell Topanga goodbye because that would make this all too real. He stands out there and watches her drive off. Something's going to happen and they're going to turn back. They have to. These things can't happen to us. My mother got really sick at this time, and it was one of those mosquito-borne diseases, and when my mother gets sick, she gets sick. She was bedridden for days until my grandparents had to come over and pick her up. She was gone for about 2 days when my grandfather called me. She's in the hospital. She has pneumonia. You must pray for her.
What the hell kind of TV show is this?
What little of a soul I had left was crumpled. I was visibly weeping at school, which goes against Sigma male rule number 596. I had to be comforted by friends. It was pathetic. I was reading the Lupin the Third at the time, and the mangaka had recently passed from pneumonia, so that was fresh in my head. I knew how bad that could get. I am an anxious mess already, so naturally I only thought of the worst. Ultimately she pulled through, but my anxiousness was not unfounded. I found out through overheard conversations, because of course no one would actually tell me these things, that the hospital where my grandparents had originally taken her, which was local to our town, and where they got the diagnosis, they weren't helping her at all. And she very nearly died there on that night. My grandparents had to use their discernment to take her to a far-off city hospital. Still, for the night, they spent not doing a damn thing. The local hospital charged 10 arms and 10 legs for their disservices. Why did I go through all that? What this arc, and a later episode with Sean, not the one you're thinking of, reminds me of is how small you feel at this age. Cory and Topanga both want, more than anything, to brave the odds and forge their future together, but something as simple as a new job can change both of their lives as they know it forever.
Of course, she isn't here anymore.
Topanga and I would have been together for the rest of our lives.
No, you wouldn't have been.
But then Topanga does something stupid.
If life doesn't want me and Topanga together, then you can't fight life, can you?
Cory.
Side note, I'm pretty sure in my romance video, I spoke about Boy Meets World right after Romeo and Juliet, and there was such a missed opportunity right there.
Mr. Matthews, brushing up on your Shakespeare?
Brush up your Shakespeare.
Well, listen, there are those who don't think we can make it because we're just a couple of kids. But, you know, here's the proof, Mr. Feeney, that two kids can take the power of love and make it work.
Whoa, boy. Pick up the knife.
Cory and Topanga fight for their case, their backstory now having been completely rewritten.
You tell me what love means to you.
Mom, listen, I haven't been together with Topanga for 22 years, but we have been together for 16.
To convince the mean grown-ups that their love...
When we were 2, we were best friends. I mean, I knew everything about this girl. I knew her favorite color.
is stronger
And then when I was 13, Mom, she put me up against my locker.
than the world.
She always was talking about these crazy things, and I never understood a word she said. All I understood was that she was the girl I sat up every night thinking about. And when I'm with her, I feel happy to be alive.
Fuck it, I'm with them. This unabashedly immature but passionate insistence of the power of love and fate is so juvenile, but I get it. This is how I was too, with my art, with my convictions, with my insistence that I would see my future, in spite of all the evils, in spite of how small I felt in school or anything like that. And ultimately, someone or something was on my side. Whether it's fate, like the show portrays, the power of television, God, or Michael Jacobs, someone came through.
My aunt.
Well, maybe she'll realize that we're Romeo and Juliet. We belong together.
Look, my aunt has never been in love, never been married, and wouldn't even know who Romeo and Juliet were.
Topi's aunt, played by someone, eventually agrees to let her stay with her.
I have spoken to your parents, and while I don't condone the intensity or exclusivity of this relationship, I also cannot condone the actions of my sister and brother-in-law, and they have agreed that if you'd like to live with me during the remainder of your high school education, I'd be happy to have you.
In cult fiction, Sean finds himself, inevitably, spiraling once again into a feeling of helplessness.
I'm one of the handful of people who cares about you, you know? Now, your parents are busy trying to work out their marriage. So are they.
His parents are gone God knows where, and he's doing poorly in school.
I couldn't help overhearing Turner do that number on you.
You think he was doing a number on me?
And all that stuff about only a handful of people care about you? I must have 100 people who care about me.
So in a moment of vulnerability, he joins a cult.
Laughter is a mask which denies the reality of a situation and reveals nervousness.
He knows it's a cult.
It's growing on me.
Well, there's plenty of room in case you decide to move in.
Oh, my bad. It's a cult.
But he just needs them right now.
Teachers, your family, and everyone else in your life judges you.
Because they don't really know me.
Well, why don't you get to know us before you judge us?
Cory tries to pull him out of it,
Okay, you're not gonna find what you're looking for here.
16 years of being out there, I haven't found anything at all.
but Sean is just gone.
All my life, I have felt like there was some part of me missing. And I felt like everybody could tell. Like I wasn't finished or something.
I never saw that, Sean.
Sean, we love you.
He said you'd say that.
Very fitting that in this episode, for the first time, we see religion referenced very frankly.
This is just a way to escape a life that doesn't have beliefs.
That's a judgment.
Before you met these people at this place, what did you believe in?
I don't know, nothing.
Did you believe in God?
I always found this episode a bit jarring for how all of a sudden they were directly talking about God, but in retrospect, it makes perfect sense. Side note, I got in the most embarrassing comment section argument with some schmuck on Reddit about whether Boy Meets World has Christian, or at least Judeo-Christian subtext. You know, the whole thesis of this damn essay. And no matter how many instances I drew, the hurt had kept getting on me on semantics. Like, oh, they don't actually directly call to Jesus, you dumb schmuck. Have you ever heard of people? Don't argue with people online. It isn't worth it. No one wins. Moving on. Sean, throughout the course of the show and even going forward, is beset on all sides, and it just is not fair. There's clearly some guiding force in this universe, and there are rules. Someone is watching out for characters, especially Cory. Miracles are worked in Cory's favor, and yet Sean is... It feels like he's cast aside some of the time.
George, what is it?
Jonathan Turner. He's been in a motorcycle accident.
Oh, no. Is he okay?
No, he isn't.
Mr. Turner gets into what could be a fatal accident, and Sean is forced to confront his reality once again.
But this is life, and this is what's really happening right now.
I can't look at him like this. Cory.
This is a hug, okay? This is a hug. And this is when you hug somebody, when you care about them.
Begging to his maker and tormentor to spare him.
You're not talking, but I know you're here. So I'm just gonna talk. It was all the things that you taught me that made me wonder if it was the right place for me or not. You and Cory and my parents and the Matthews and the handful of people who really care about me. So don't blow me off, John. Don't blow me off, God. I've never asked you for anything, and I never wanted to come to you like this.
He just wants to be alright. He just wants Mr. Turner, the first person to really stick his neck out for him, to be okay. And he answers. The thing is, though, for the purposes of the show, Turner is dead. Many fans, actually, to this day, would tell you that they remember him dying, because he does not come back. The last time we see him is on this bed. Until Girl Meets World, where he's a recurring character, and in an upcoming episode, they reference him as a joke. But for the purposes of the show, truly, this is the end. The only reason why in the text he's shown to still be alive is to display that God answers Sean's prayer. On one March afternoon, an announcement rang out from the intercom that due to the outbreak of a certain virus, school be shut down for 2 weeks. This might just be another case of hindsight, but I'd like to think we all kinda knew that it would be a bit longer than that. I vividly remember the excitement and dread. I don't know what's gonna happen to me, but I think someone might have come through. I don't want to think of it as being a godsend. I know people that lost their lives to that disease, but it was like a deus ex machina in my story. I felt like my life started.
Baby, what we did with Jesus was not supposed to happen. No, at all. Believe that, no. Yeah. We took that cat over.
In the Abrahamic canon, Father Abraham had 2 sons. The first to his slave Hagar, because his wife Sarah was apparently barren. Abraham was promised by God that he would birth many nations, and he had to fulfill his destiny. The boy was named Ishmael. But after several years, Sarah was with child. God made good on his promise after all. The boy was named Isaac. Ishmael and Isaac, being half-brothers, were close as small children, but, and the details of this get murky depending on which religion you look at, Abraham and Sarah cast Ishmael and Hagar away into the desert. Still, it is said that God blessed Ishmael. Isaac and his descendants would go on to be known as Jews, and Ishmael and his descendants would go on to be known as Arabs. Within the Abrahamic canon, though of course, like I said, religion by religion, the details change, this origin story has led to the millennia of conflict that Jewish people and the practitioners of Islam have been getting up to ever since. I think that is more than a bit stupid. Given the current genocide taking place against the Palestinians, this story has come up in my circles, my family, many of which are torn because if you can't recognize what's happening as one of the worst atrocities we will witness in our time, you're not human. But many believe that, well, it has been written that there will be conflict, and God's will be done. I fail not to see this right here as the greatest indictment of fundamentalism as a concept.
Can you imagine what would happen to you, Nikki? I'm married to you. Come home, and you say to me, "Hey, baby, you know what happened today?" I said, "No, what happened?" "Well, the Holy Ghost came by. The Holy Ghost whispered in my ear and I'm pregnant." Now, if I were really vulnerable, I might try to find that cat, the holy who. This has been believed by millions of people
Yeah, they
who
really
lived
do.
and died by it for 2,000 years. And when you attack it, you're accused of being blasphemous. I think the legend itself is a blasphemy.
Yeah.
What is wrong with a man and a woman sleeping together, making love to each other, and having a baby like everybody else? Why has the Son of God got to be born immaculately? Aren't we all the sons of God? That's a blasphemy.
But we're not all the sons of God.
I grew up singing songs about the wonderful story of how God flattened the walls of Jericho so Joshua and his boys could storm Canaan and massacre everyone because God apparently promised them that land. You can believe what you want, but practice what you want. We are all in the end trying to find the truth, right? But what burns me is the idea of excusing such evil because it was an inevitability. That you can do and say things that otherwise would make a person's blood run cold because it was written somewhere in some old scrolls. That some people just have to suffer, and some just have to be left out of the promise because God said so.
When this boy meets world, boy meets world, wandering down this road that we call life.
In seasons 5 and 6, I'd argue the show stops being a sitcom and becomes a dramedy with a laugh track. Season 5 brings us the last and best opening of the show, as we're following the kids as they're seniors and Eric as he goes to college.
Theories and footnotes, shades of meaning, nuance, spelling. Where does it end? Where does it end?
Sean's long-lost brother, because of course he has a secret brother.
What are you doing here?
No, don't ruin this for me. Sean, listen, whoever this guy is, whatever minor personal infraction happened between the two of you, let it go. Because the world knows that this one is going to be Eric's roommate, and the world is my friend.
He's my brother.
He is not your brother.
Moves to town for college.
What do you know about that? I got me a boy in college. New daddy raised you up good.
Raised him up so good he hasn't come to visit all this time.
And Chet, father of the year, kicks Sean out and tells him to live with him while he goes off to do whatever BS.
You two boys have been given an opportunity to get to know each other.
No, Dad.
He wants a roommate. I want you to live with him.
For this season, we see Sean, Eric, and Jack share this apartment and the conflict that comes from that.
This is the true story of 3 new roommates. Eric.
How great is this?
Jack.
Do you know how great this is?
And Sean.
This is great!
Jack's stepdad is affluent and upper class, so we see the brothers butt heads.
How you know Wendy? She came to the door. Phone number. Phone number. Kiss. Kiss. You've got a problem here, Jack. Where did you take her? To dinner and a concert? Dinner and a concert? You win. What?
But at least we get fun side quests with Jack and Eric, who the fandom has headcanoned as a gay couple.
You like pets? Nah, I have a hard enough time keeping track of myself. You? I'm not a pet guy. I got 4 kids, though.
I thought it was funny.
A dynamic that we never really did get to see though was Sean and Eric. The two characters I would argue holds the show's emotional core going forward.
Whee! Eric, you just scratched on purpose.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm a loser anyway.
Hey, do you want to talk?
What, you and me?
Can we do that?
But after watching lots of interviews and panels, apparently there was a very simple reason for that, which is that Will and Ryder just could not be damn professional and kept making each other laugh.
We never have before.
No, not in the last 6 years.
Not even that year we lived together.
So, god damn it, I feel like that's a whole missed opportunity that
We're supposed to be fucking professional!
Sean would have another big shift in his life, as it is in this season that we meet Angela Moore.
Are you okay?
You're just taking this so well.
We had fun.
Yeah, we did.
And in the two-parter, I Love You Donna Karen and Chasing Angela, we see Sean start to really fall for her, but grapple with the fear that he has of that kind of vulnerability.
And Angela's alright. I'm gonna miss her.
Well, then why did you break up with her?
After breaking up with her as a part of his 2-week method,
The 2-week rule is dumb.
No. His 1-week rule is dumb.
Sean finds a purse and falls in love with the concept of whoever owns it.
I think I met someone. Someone special. It's her. purse girl.
Sean, this thing is not real. This is real. She's there for me, through the good and the bad.
Yeah, well, I've come from, I've never seen love work.
This girl here could be your love, your destiny.
His world is then shattered when he realizes that the girl who owns the purse is taken.
Hey, don't ever talk to me about love or destiny again.
What happened?
I put my heart in the line. She's got a boyfriend, Cory. It's like my heart's been ripped out and stepped on. So just do me a favor and stay out of my personal life, okay?
But we soon find out that there was a mix-up and the contents of the purse were actually Angela's.
Yeah, and my book of sonnets. I can't live without these.
Cory and Topanga helped pair the two together.
But that's none of our business, now is it, Cory?
No, it's not our business at all.
Sean's life so far has only been a series of disappointments, so he wants what they have.
You're looking at them more than you're looking at me.
Look at those two. I mean, it's us 20 years ago.
Sean and Angela become a couple, but are still plagued with the burden of comparing themselves to the immortal love of Cory and Topanga.
You said you knew me. If you really knew me, why would you bring me here?
Because I have no idea what I'm doing.
This was a rare interracial couple on American television, especially for a family show, and it was 110% a choice. And while her race is almost never brought up explicitly, something which Trina has expressed frustration with, they do go through a lot as a couple, though this could also just be because Sean's life has to suck. Cory and Topanga, however, aren't as smooth sailing this season as they've been so far. In the past, they've broken up because they were a little bored with each other. Then it was due to the external factors of Topanga's family moving away, an obstacle that they really had to fight against with their lives. But here is their first real breakup, with a multiple episode serialized drama that has gone down in the memories of many of us as the Ski Lodge Saga. Cory and Topanga's relationship at this point hold the very foundation of the show, and when it is properly rocked by the events that transpire on this ill-fated senior trip, the balance of the universe is knocked out of shape.
We love you!
Cory, Sean, Topanga, and Angela go on this senior ski trip, and Cory immediately gets injured,
Slopes are treacherous.
He fell getting off the bus.
having to stay at the lodge.
Here, your own piece of the mountain.
It's there that he meets Lauren, and he really gets close to her.
Lauren. Thanks, it's been the best day with a mildly sprained ankle I've ever had.
Somebody's got a crush.
Lauren's being nice to me because it's her job. As a matter of fact, after today, I'm not planning on spending any more time with her. Lauren.
Hey, your ankle's better.
Then the schmuck gets kissed by her.
How's your ankle feeling?
It's bothering me.
I wasn't expecting you, but sometimes people take you by surprise. Surprise.
Pick up the knife and kill yourself.
At the advice of Sean, he confesses that he spoke to her all night, and even that he lied to her about his foot being injured so that he could spend time with her.
But she will never, ever forgive you for kissing another girl.
Did anything else happen between you? Did anything else happen between you?
No. Nothing.
Lauren writes Cory a letter before they leave that he immediately misplaces, and God only knows what lyrics she was dropping on that because Topanga finds it, and in the next episode, we see her response.
See, Sean, if you want a perfect relationship, just do what Topanga and I do.
I want to talk to you.
This triggers a chain reaction of banger episode after banger episode, as on the Valentine's Day, Sean is kidnapped by 3 ex-girlfriends who we've seen him with on the show.
Hey, Sean.
Dana.
Wow. Your tastes have changed.
Who confront him to protect Angela from being hurt,
We're not gonna let you hurt Angela.
You guys are hurting Angela by not letting me go.
the way that he hurt them and Cory hurt Topanga.
What do you 3 witches think you're doing?
We're doing you a favor, Angela. You just don't know it.
What I do know is Sean would have been here for our date if it wasn't for you guys.
The defendant will refrain from using his charm to sway the witness.
And we're not leaving until you admit that you're not boyfriend material.
She really said you're not boyfriend material? Sean's made some mistakes. Yeah, but he is learning from them.
I guess you would know about making mistakes, Cory Matthews.
leading us into the next episode where Lauren comes to Philadelphia to visit Cory.
Okay, and I don't want her to see us together.
Can't always get what you want.
Triggering Topanga to tell him to spend time with her to explore his feelings.
I'm not the kind of guy who stands out in the rain without the appropriate outerwear.
Let me keep you warm and dry. I love the rain.
Yeah, I do too now.
You having fun with me?
That's what I'm worried about. I like Lauren. I like spending time with her. But I can live without her.
Ending with Topanga pulling the rug from all of us.
And I don't have to be afraid of what I feel about anybody else because I know that it could never take away from loving you.
And breaking things off properly.
Forgive you for lying at the lodge. Forgive you for kissing her. But that you needed to see her. To test how you felt about me. I don't forgive you for that, Cory.
No! You told me to see her, Topanga!
And you listened.
This then leads us into the 3-episode 10 out of 10 Power Hour. And then there was Sean, If You Can't Be With the One You Love, and Eric Hollywood. All perfect episodes for completely different reasons.
Can I borrow your big pencil?
They're not divorced, Kenny. It's just a trial separation.
And then there was Sean is commonly called the best episode of the show, both by fans and the cast, who always talk about how much of a blast it was to shoot.
Now you're just being wild.
It is a fun, dramatic slasher film parody where the cast find themselves in detention, only to find out that a killer is
It's the sound of our beating hearts. It signifies our heightened fear and the fact that something horrible is about to walk in that door.
Oh yeah, Jack and Eric also show up because why not? It uses all the tropes of slashers and is shot in a stylized, dramatic way. But it ends with the revelation that the killer was actually Sean all along. This was a dream manifested because of Sean's agony over Cory and Topanga, who've grown to become a symbol of hope for him, as I'm sure the show has for many people, myself included.
Cory and Topanga aren't together anymore.
Yes, I know. I too read Teen Beat, Mr. Hunter.
And I guess I've been taking it pretty hard. You guys have been together since before I even knew you. And if you're not, then I guess I feel like there's nothing I can depend on.
The Cory and Topanga myth is the central guiding truth of this world. And especially for someone like Sean, who desperately needs someone or something to tell him that he's going to be okay, this separation is like a religious crisis of faith.
Sean, listen, you think I like my stuff like this. I don't. Okay, I don't blame everyone for not wanting to be around me. I don't want to be around me either.
If You Can't Be With the One You Love is another one of those very special episodes that I mentioned before.
I'm done with me.
Where Cory takes to drinking when people start complaining about how much of a drag he is.
So they got Hunter kidnapped and handcuffed to a pole, and I have to step in and save Sean's butt because I have a way with women, as you can probably tell by the fact that I've never been more available in my life. To us.
He then pressures Sean to drink with him.
I don't need that.
This will forever be remembered as the night we peed on a police car.
But we soon learn that alcoholism is in Sean's family, and that's why Jack's mom left him.
Dad used to drink, and then he stopped. Next.
You know why he stopped drinking?
Because he ran out of money?
You know why my mom left him?
Because she went for a guy with more money?
She left him because he was an abusive, ugly drunk. Don't you ever talk about my son!
Possibly why Verna left him too. The scene where Sean shoves Angela gets me every time.
You were drinking?
Yeah. What do you figure that was about?
Okay, maybe we don't have to talk about this in front of everybody. Let's just go out into the hall.
Go. How did that just happen?
It's all wrapped up in a neat little bow at the end, with the exception of a little relapse later in the show. But that's the nature of a sitcom. These things can be wrapped up tidily, which is what makes it so stressful that Cory and Topanga are still apart. Another thing that I like is how Alan initially attacks Sean when the two are carried home from the police.
I cannot believe that my kid stole liquor from my cabinet like somebody else's kid.
Cory, this isn't you.
No, of course it isn't. Somebody influenced him, didn't someone?
Alan?
It makes him really unlikable, but it's realistic.
I am sick and tired of overlooking the influence you have on my kid.
Alan, that's enough.
Listen, Sean, why are you taking the rap for me?
All my life you've had my back.
But I'm the one who got us into trouble.
I'm not in any trouble. You are.
The interesting thing about it is that on one hand, it is a rare twist that Cory is a bad influence on Sean.
First, we feel that you two need some time apart. Now,
Forget it, Dad, okay? Forget it.
What if Kimberly's party wasn't within walking distance? Would you have driven?
Okay, I wouldn't drink and drive. I'm not a moron.
You peed on a cop car.
But this is not a twist at all. Sean has always been the one influenced by Cory.
And yeah, I'll just stay away from Cory if that's what's gonna put everything back to normal.
Normal. I don't have a heart anymore. I've lost my life. So I went up to your liquor cabinet, and I took a bottle of whiskey, and I made Sean drink. Because I didn't want to be alone.
Eric Hollywood is just a romp, and I'm talking about it not because of any grand thematic stuff, but because it is one of the funniest episodes of the show, and with all the heavy stuff happening, we need a breather. I skipped through most of my favorite funny episodes already, but I cannot possibly skip this one.
Fury be my conduct now. Now, Tybalt, take the villain back again, for Mercutio's soul is but a little way above our heads, waiting for thine to keep him company.
Eric finds out he has a knack for acting, or at least Shakespearean acting. So a producer scouts him and takes him to Hollywood to star on a sitcom. Kid gets acquainted with the universe, meeting stars like Ben Sandwich.
Hey, maybe you've heard of his brother? Bread Sandwich?
Listen, let me tell you what this show is not. This is not long lost brother gets acquainted with the universe, okay?
And Schneider Strong.
People who aren't shy make me nervous.
Hi!
Oh no, it's her.
Schneider is very shy.
Too close, too close, too close, too close.
I always loved Meta's self-referential humor, and this episode is literally just the show having fun with itself. Based on what they've said of themselves at this age on the podcast, I know for a fact that these guys are just playing exaggerated versions of themselves.
What? Well, they got me already. Why do they need you? Oh, actually, they just told me they got me.
Ryder Strong, just like me, for real, for real.
Maybe you could give me a little something to play off today, okay? Huh? You dead person. You silent freak. You know, I am so sick and tired of...
It includes one of my favorite lines in the whole show.
All you have to do is get the keys to your father's car and his credit card.
I don't know, Shane. I got a real bad feeling about this one. You know, I've never done it.
We're doing this story again? How many times have we done this, Matt? How can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid? I'll make you stop.
And unlike the crying I usually do with the show, I just about lost it when he goes to the writers. They're just a bunch of children.
They're young, they're hip, they're fun. Hey, do your jobs. Oh, what's wrong? Did I hurt your feelings? Good, because you know what this script is? Poopy!
He's not poopy, you're poopy!
God does eventually pull us out of this purgatory, and in the next episode, Cory and Topanga make up when Topanga finds herself in almost the exact same situation when she meets an art geek with a very odd but thematically perfect read on Van Gogh's Starry Night.
Painted.
Look at the way he painted the stars.
See how they protect the small town? It's like these swirling divine lights from God that say, I will always protect you.
Well, it says here that Van Gogh found religion around the time he painted this.
Yeah, he found his soul, and he put it on this canvas. That's what's moving you.
How they choose to interpret this painting illuminated to me how this story works and why it is that we love it.
What do you see?
I see an attack.
An attack.
An attack from another world.
What about the relationship between God and man?
See, God, unhappy with how some particular humans treat other particular humans who love them, has decided it's the end of the world.
Cory realized that her love for Cory...
I've been thinking about you ever since the museum. It's amazing when it can be a day like any other day and without even expecting it. You meet somebody interesting, inspiring, and talk for hours.
and his love for her are stronger than paintings.
Those things don't just happen for no reason.
They happen to teach you something.
conversations, and meaningless kisses.
I met this guy.
I went back to look at that painting.
We talked all day.
I wanted to see what you saw in it.
We went out on a date and he drew me a picture of some flowers.
And I spent a half an hour looking at it, trying to understand it.
And then he kissed me.
It was a beautiful painting.
But it's just a painting. We're real, and you always understood that. I love you. And I will always love you.
Kind of convenient, but that is how their romance works. No matter what obstacles, what doubts, these two are fated to be together, and it is so comforting.
God is protecting the people in this little town. They live their lives and they come out of their houses and they see the sky. And they know God's protection and love. And that everything will be all right.
I now believe that the concept of swearing is utterly stupid, yet I still can't do it.
Damn it! Hell! Crap! Shit!
At least not in the presence of others. I say the F word, I feel a certain pang in my soul. Is that God? Is it my parents? The kids who told me I fell off when I was 12? We are governed by some external force that affects our every move, even if we are aware of it and even try to reject it. There is some certain external thing that moves us almost like marionettes. Earlier I presented the schools of thought of free will and fatalism, but there is a secret third thing, determinism. Determinism is defined by Britannica as the thesis that all events in the universe, including human decisions and actions, are causally inevitable. People are born into different circumstances and various external factors govern our lived realities, providing us with the different opportunities we see and operate through in life. If you're born into poverty, there's a chance that you will stay impoverished unless some external factor allows for upward mobility. If you're born into wealth, chances are, unless something goes very wrong, you're set for life. If you're born to a household that treats four-letter words like first-degree murder, chances are you'll continue dotting your I's and crossing your T's even after you realize that doesn't make sense. Unlike fatalism, the determinists might not say that once you're born poor, or it's written down somewhere that you'll be impoverished for life, there's nothing you can do. Instead, they believe that unless you get a lot of external help, it'll be very difficult for you to find that upward mobility. The free will believer, however, may preach about individual responsibility, and how wherever a person ends up is completely and totally up to them, just so long as they work hard and believe in themselves. I could cuss and say, frick, if I really practice, but again, you can't just outgrow that overnight. However, perhaps if I surround myself with a bunch of sailors or 13-year-olds, the filth of their vocabulary will rub off on me. Compatibilism, the correct answer, argues that it really just depends situation by situation. There are certain situations where a person just has to believe in themselves, and then there are others where they might need some help. Likewise, there are certain things that are going to happen to you no matter what. When you believe in a guiding hand, a society with rules, things become a lot simpler. But even this is more complicated.
僕はいろんな意味で行き詰まってましたね。自分の子供時代を扱って書いてきたつもりの詩が、実際には子供時代を売りに出してしまったという感じになってしまった。
Boy Meets World is a sitcom. It is a sitcom spawned from a certain time and a certain place, made by certain people for certain people. Its society will always be bound by certain rules, much of which were established by various gods and myths, also Joseph Campbell, who would go on to define how humans conceive of each other and their place in the world. I read his book for this, The Man with 1,000 Faces. It was so boring, but I get his point. I disagree with a lot of it and protest his hero's journey theory, perhaps because it's fascist, more honestly because it's boring. But the great horror that I found reading this long, boring book is how similar what he tries to accomplish is to what I do. When you believe in something, it can become very true.
自分の子供時代や風土から自由になるってこともあるからね。先生は原体験が現在を支えているとお考えになることありませんか？むしろそれは首輪みたいな。
Coming of age stories are birthed from the lives of their creators and their forefathers before them, made in their image, all of which try to capture some truth, communicating that truth to generations and generations to come, and forming both their perceptions of themselves and the worlds around them. They get a sense of hope and comfort, something to aspire to, something to reach, to help them feel seen. So far, I managed to make a little career on YouTube talking about how dangerous stories can be because they're often told from very narrow perspectives, because I think I must. Because I've been wanting to do some kind of Boy Meets World retrospective for so long, I've had a lot of time to think about what it is that I want to say about it. By the time I put pen to paper, or more accurately, finger to keyboard, I was stumped. I have too much to say about it, also not nearly enough. I wanted to say something new and original. The vain thing in my head was make the greatest video about Boy Meets World ever. But in the end, I keep circling back to the waves of uncertainty, the insignificance of my age, the obnoxious self-serious brain that pesters my world and obscures my vision. In the wake of a world of uncertainty, a reality that I have still yet to process, I feel the need to return to the words of my father or cling to the warm embrace of my mother. Even though the older I get, the less I want to be like them, or hidden beneath their shelter. I return to the kinky-haired boy and his funny-named girlfriend to find something I don't know even exists anymore.
もし君がだ、タイムマシンに乗って数百年を遡り、君の3代前のおばあさんを殺したとしたら、現在の君はいなくなるか?
Dear Cory, the Ivy League is pleased to announce the further disintegration of your world.
Season 5 concludes with Cory Matthews curling into a fetal position because everything in his life is changing.
How did you know I was accepted?
Because I know the way my life works.
Truly good things are happening to everyone in his life. Sean has found a job he's passionate about.
My boss says that after I graduate, he wants me to be his full-time assistant.
That's great, Sean.
That's the big news.
Topanga has been accepted to Yale.
Congratulations, Topanga. I mean that.
And Mr. Feeney has decided to find peace in retirement.
There comes a time when making a change feels right. I'm thinking about moving to Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Here properly emerges the beast that I like to call late-stage Cory Matthews.
Doing good.
No, Sean, this is just a hobby, okay? You can take these kind of courses in college.
Cool.
What?
My picture, it's finished and it's good. What do you think?
I think you haven't listened to a thing I've said, Sean.
He's as immature as he's been throughout the series because he's supposed to be a stand-in for the feelings that we get as we're growing up. But he isn't cute anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention for a second? My best friend, Sean Hunter,
I think I'm gonna take the job.
is throwing away his entire life.
You just kinda want to smack him. Same thing happened with Kevin in the Wonder Years, except I never did like him, the schmuck. But Cory becomes especially aggravating here.
So this place means a lot to you, huh?
It's the last place left that makes any sense. Everything is changing so fast that I just want to be in the one place I can count on, with the one person I can count on, you, Morgan.
I'm having a great time with you too, Cory.
Ahoy, mateys!
And now it's over.
Even though the things he's feeling at this point are starting to become relatable again.
Why are you talking like that?
Everything's changed.
In the next episode, the season finale, Graduation, we get another left hook. After some senior hijinks,
Chickens in the hallway! Like, this is hilarious! Look at them! Look at them! Oh my gosh, look at the chickens!
Look at all those chickens!
as much as he pisses me off, this has been at his funniest for me, actually.
Rent a couple of chickens?
Yeah, don't step on them or else I'd lose my deposit.
And a heartwarming return of some familiar faces.
Saying goodbye to people who've been around but we sort of lost touch with.
Like who?
Oh, now it's high Minkus. For the last 4 years, it's like I haven't even been in the same school with you guys, because I was just in the other part of the school.
What other part of the school?
You know, over there.
Well, we don't go there.
Yeah, you go over there, you may never come back.
Ah, that's crazy. Hey, Mr. Turner, wait up.
I just have to say, the scene where they all give Stewart a big group hug, baby cry, and I didn't even care about anything that happened afterwards, we get a twist that no doubt shook many a 1998 household.
Ladies and gentlemen, the John Adams High School class of 1998.
Will you marry me?
Mr. Feeney! Dude!
All right, here I go. So, what's with the bitchin' board, bro?
Yeah, I'm coming with you to Jackson Hole, surfing capital of the world.
It's in Wyoming, you macadamian nut.
What do they do in this Wyoming?
Well, they take the time to enjoy God's beautiful landscape, appreciate their quiet surroundings, and contemplate on what life is all about.
If I'm really, really quiet, will you stay?
After the initial shock, we get our answer.
You know, Topanga, it's not every day that a guy gets asked a question like that, and it's not every day I can give you an... So you got a ring for me, or what?
The families and friends don't respond well.
Of course they'll wait. They haven't decided anything yet.
Whose idiot idea was this?
Mine. It was my idiot idea, it's my idiot life, and I have the right to decide if I want to be a married idiot.
I asked Cory to marry me.
Please don't yell at my fiance.
So they attempt to elope, but Topanga caves because she wants to feel special.
In sickness and in health, till death do you part.
Boy, I am so sorry my family missed that.
I want my family to be at my wedding. Cory, I want to wear a wedding dress. A white, lacy wedding dress.
Of course white. The way we're going, bright white.
When they come home, however, everyone thinks they went through with it, and it starts out nice.
I have one beautiful wife, a lovely daughter, and one wonderful son.
Hey!
Hey! Now, I have yet another lovely daughter.
But then the truth comes out.
I have watched these two grow up, and here they are now, just fresh out of high school. Don't know anything about the world at all. I'm sorry, I can't do this. Why couldn't you have just gone to Yale?
Starting the season with a 2-3-parter like this is an indication of how serialized the show is now and how real things are going to get.
So, what did you decide?
I'm gonna tell you, but there's something I need to do first. We've been together our entire lives. And you know that I love you more than anything in the world. Will you marry me?
Yes, Cory. Yes, I will.
Season 6 is when the squad goes to college. Topi apparently having abandoned Yale for her man, and Sean now choosing to further his education after all.
I'm gonna be living in a dorm, so if you're not ready to have Topanga as a roommate...
Wait, you and me together, that's 2 proposals in the same day, Sean.
Angela was always going to college, but Cory didn't care. My first handful of days in uni were both frightening and exciting. Academically, I am now Stuart Minkus. I am pursuing a major hyper-tailored to my interests, and I be picking up them A's in my sleep. That's my greatest shock about uni, how easy my core courses are.
My friends seem to think that I've taken on an impossible load with quantum physics, and
on the first day, we start off with...
Eric and Jack throw Sean out of the apartment when, in the words of the show, a hot redhead needs a place to stay.
Live a healthy life, eat all your vegetables, honor your father and your mother, and heaven will reward you with a hottie hot for a roommate.
And thus, the throuple of the century is born, and would occupy the more light-hearted B+ of the season. Rachel rewired my brain when I was an 11-year-old, but watching now, I do fail not to see the room full of middle-aged men who wrote, "Hot 20-year-old redhead shakes her tushy in a bathrobe."
Cory and Topanga, that's my little brother and Topanga. They ran off to elope. My parents kind of went mental. I calmed everything down.
That is so romantic of you.
Oh, she's not sitting on me, is she? Oh, and here she is, my friend. And here.
You know I can hear everything you guys are saying.
She is definitely there primarily to be sexualized and create some level of tension between Jack and Eric.
Rachel's gonna come back here, she's gonna see how sensitive I am, know that I'm all man and not half man like you're sorry, Tushy.
Hello, Rachel.
Eric, what's the matter?
It's the children, it's the children.
The children? What children?
All of them. They're so little, you just... Please don't make me go.
But I do like that, unlike past love interests, she is actually given some level of agency.
We have to stop thinking of you as a puff pastry on a plate. And more like a person.
She entertains them both and is aware that they're all over her.
It's just my favorite part of the day. Is that okay?
Yeah, I demand you take bubble baths.
Really? Why?
Why?
Jack?
But there is no guarantee that she'll end up with either of them, and she even tells them not to treat her special.
Yeah, don't treat me special because I'm a woman.
She's right, yeah!
Now hit Jack with pie.
They really should just be a throuple, though. All three of these people are so hot.
We're gonna be just like girlfriends.
Disney, girlfriends sleep together, bathe together, and even get to see each other naked. We already do that.
Mr. Feeney comes out of retirement to be a student at the college.
I'm gonna ask him a question that only Feeney would know the answer to. Are you George Feeney?
It's me, you moron.
But true to the conversation we're having here, being a student is not going to be so easy for him as that.
You do it. You.
It is our postulation that free will determines behavior and not one's environment. If a reformed criminal returns to his old neighborhood, does that mean that he will necessarily return to a life of crime? Anyone?
George, you're suggesting that environment has no effect on behavior?
There will be ample time for questions after my presentation. And a hand raise wouldn't kill you.
Dean Bollander convinces him to start teaching again.
I intended to come here strictly as a student.
Well, when I stopped teaching to become dean, I thought the same thing. But here I am.
Fun fact, the dean is played by Bill Daniels' real wife of currently over 70 years, Bonnie Bartlett. They are the real Cory and Topanga, so of course they have a little romance going on in the show. Which brings us this iconic Eric moment.
Fine? Fine? Ow! Hey, what? What? Hey! Ow!
Before we can get into the agony, some standout episodes I really liked. Hogs and Kisses is an episode where Sean and Topanga have to act like a couple for a promotional video for the student union.
Okay, let's have a nice kiss.
What?
Cory doesn't take it very well.
A little. Oh, you hurt me so bad. Why didn't you take me back to your tornado-infested trailer park? Ah! Topanga! You shut up! No, you shut up! No, you shut up!
And we get two of my favorite gags in the whole show.
You want a piece of me? I'm not going anywhere. Come on! I never saw it coming, Isaac.
The same thing happened to me once.
Topanga! Friend!
While late stage Cory Matthews can be a real butt, he's also kind of iconic.
I've worked through it. I'm fine. And I just want to ask one thing. What's this? Underpants.
I always sleep like this.
Underpants!
True to how the show always ages with the characters, for the entirety of this season, Cory is openly sexually frustrated.
This needs to be an ordinary night where we behave just as ourselves. Sex is the last thing we should be doing.
You are wrong. You just are. My next poem is called Frustration. Come on, Topanga!
And never shuts up about how Topanga never lets him hit.
You know what's sick, everyone? We have been in a relationship for 17 years. And do you know what I've gotten in all that time? Let me touch something!
Obnoxious trait, yes. But the show always portrays him as being an idiot for it.
I would have bought the flannel pajamas with the feet instead of the silk pajamas and the silk blanket and these silk sheets!
The episode The Truth About Honesty is one of the 3 episodes that were banned from Disney Channel. First with the drinking episode, then a season 5 episode that I skipped over where at prom, Cory and Topanga attempt to have premarital sex.
I said this was the Matthews room.
It is. Now get out.
So it's just you and Topanga?
Yes.
Alone in a hotel room?
Yes.
On prom night?
Yes.
So? What you do?
But ends with the conclusion that virginity is cool.
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die.
The plot of The Truth About Honesty is literally that he's mad at her for not showing him her butt.
I just want to know what it's going to take to share your toothbrush.
The truth is, I could never share any of my personal items with someone who won't even show me her tushy.
I think that's fair.
Also, Sean and Angela try to hook up.
If you could spend one night with anyone, no strings attached, who would it be with?
Well, then I'd pick Angela.
So, with no strings, no commitment, you'd pick me.
Yeah, what do you say to that?
Let's do it.
I have seen the promised land.
I showed him my butt.
You too.
make my life a living hell.
Cory and Eric share one brain cell in this episode, and as terrible as they both are, I find it very funny.
If I may be honest, and you said I could, I don't dislike your hair. I hate it. I think whoever did this to you should be taken outside, tied down, and made to look at it.
On a way less funny note though, another really good standalone episode is Everybody Loves Stuart.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Topanga Lawrence, the next president of the United States. You really believe all that Little Mary Sunshine stuff?
Yes, I do.
So do I. To a point.
The long-awaited Fred Sandwich guest star episode where he actually plays himself.
Now, Topanga just spouted a philosophical belief. What is it?
Free will. She's in charge of her own actions and therefore creates her own destiny.
Stuart is a charismatic young teacher who abuses his power to harass Topanga.
It is possible to cross the line morally and yet not cross the line actually. Now, that's vague. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sitting here with you, for example, right? I'm your teacher, and I find you attractive. But we're talking about the assignment. Now, have we crossed a line?
I don't think so, no.
I'm your teacher, and I think you're attractive. And now we're not talking about the paper.
And when Cory finds out, he understandably responds the only way he knows how.
Topanga's real uncomfortable about your dorm visit. She thought you were hitting on her.
What if I was?
I don't want to play.
Why not?
I have a weird middle name.
Your first name's Topanga. What would your middle name be, Shmoo Boogie?
They have a hearing to determine whether Cory gets kicked out of the school or not, and besides some levity brought by Eric...
Look, Mr. Feeney, I know you got a thing going with the dean, all right? So if it looks like we're gonna lose, just play the love card, okay?
Will you shut up?
Unbelievable.
This one's a tough one, but very realistic.
I'll tell the dean that you came on to me.
You came on to me.
What?
Didn't you just tell me that I was the best teacher that you ever had?
Yeah, I did. You treat us like equals, like adults. I guess a lot of teachers, you feel like they treat you like a kid.
Like Mr. Feeney, for example.
Stuart, do you believe as a college professor that it's okay to be alone in a dorm room with a young female student?
I even asked a roommate to stay. In fact, it was Topanga who shooed Angela away. Isn't that right, Topanga?
She was on her way to the student union. I didn't feel any...
you.
Any more questions, George?
Just one. Is it okay if I rip off your head and roll it down the hallway?
The only real point of the episode seemingly is just to show that life is unfair, and the grown-up world is tough.
I've tried to protect you for too long in the shelters of high school. This is a major university, and this is life. And these things happen. And you're not children anymore.
Which leads us to the central arc of the season. Let's unpack some of this trauma. In Season 4, From the Persuasion, Sean seemingly amicably splits with Angela.
Hi, I'm Sean. And this is my friend Angela.
What? You can meet new people. I don't want you to miss out on anything.
What do you mean by that?
You want to meet new people, and I'm not new people, so what do you want it to mean?
But it's clear to us all that it isn't that simple.
Topanga, did you know that
Sean and Angela broke up? Yeah, Angela told me. I think you guys are both handling it with incredible maturity.
How is breaking up mature?
Cory, not every couple is just like us.
Yeah, but I want them to be like us.
Late stage Cory Matthews confronts Angela about her feelings, and after pestering her when she tells him they were never that close...
I'm just trying to be a friend.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Cory, but let's not kid ourselves. You and I were never really friends to begin with.
She caves and admits that she still likes Sean.
Fine. You're right. I don't even know you. Then why don't you give me a chance to know you?
How do you expect me to hang out with you and not think about him?
Because I'm not Sean.
You want to be my friend.
Yeah.
And you're going to keep to yourself how I feel about him.
Yeah.
Boy, I sure hope that turns out great. In episode 9, Poetic License, I Want to Break His Legs, when he signed Sean up for a poetry reading despite him telling him explicitly not to do that. We learn that Sean is actually a really great poet, as the episode opens with Mr. Feeney reading a poem that he made for the class.
The piece is entitled An Unpublished Manuscript for J.D. Salinger.
Nappy time.
Shut the
up!
It is possible to assassinate my heroes with the scope of my individualism. However, by their own persistence to themselves, I believe that they have chosen me to pursue a self. What is literature but the illumination of that which I would write? Salinger speaks through me to me, whispers, "Where to, little boy?" My answer is the dogged pen to page which lights consistently the pathway home. It is on that road that I alone can trip my way back to myself.
Oh, come on! Kill him! Somebody kill him!
Cory, you're nuts. That poem was so incredible. It was beautiful.
I can't believe someone our own age wrote that.
Someone like Mr. Hunter?
I knew it.
I liked it.
You don't know it. But sometimes...
Cory ends up reading a particularly personal poem from his book.
You don't know it, but sometimes I go to a hill that overlooks the landscape's mask of city lights for a sip of momentary grace. On this brink of everything I know, I can gain an eyeful of the lost Atlantis in the human soul, and a breath that fills my lungs with the air between two stars. If you were now to capture the image of this elation in the framework of your mind, or find transcendence through these words, then at most you would know nothing of the beauty your existence throws to me. For mine is a love no experience, no measure, no words could ever degrade into reality by virtue of degree.
I don't understand.
How do I put this? Who do you think you are?
And we soon learn, surprise, surprise, who it was for.
You went way too far this time, Cory.
All right, but I just want to say...
they're better. There better not be a but.
I did this for your own good.
That poem you just read, do you even know who that was about?
Me.
You're a head! It's about Angela. I wrote that for her.
Sean writes down his feelings because he can't understand them, so he seeks for some kind of solace in his art. He just like me for real. I will break the Brillo head's legs for you, Sean. In the end, Sean lies about how he had written the poem from before, and my heart weeps for Angela.
And when I heard that poem...
Yeah, the poem. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I wrote that a long time ago.
You did?
Yeah, like way before we broke up.
But Topanga finds the truth.
Isn't that the book that I gave you for your birthday? You and Angela broke up before your birthday. You couldn't have written that poem 2 months ago. Sean?
Cory and Topanga would then go on to try to mend their relationship for the next handful of episodes, but it doesn't work.
That scares me. I don't know what to do with those feelings.
You give in to them, Sean. Because then you'd be in love with someone who loves you too. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that what you want, Sean?
I don't know what I want. I'm so confused, okay? I really don't think I'm ready.
I opened my heart to you.
They stay broken up for the rest of the season, their feelings plastered like strange body fluids on the walls of a high school restroom. Thanks, Cory.
You f***ed.
Even then, Sean would have even more punishment to endure.
So you think you can take him? I don't know. I never have before.
You know the dude?
Kind of. He's my father.
And we'll have a good time. Then Chet returns visiting his boys in college, promising that this time he's there to stay.
How about it, Dad? Every Thursday night, steak and suds night?
I'm there.
Don't hold your breath.
But Sean isn't buying it.
It's for you.
Hello? Hey, Tommy. Uh-huh. Well, how much are they paying?
They get into a fight, and what sucks is that Sean's probably right, because we hear Chet get a phone call for another job opportunity.
So, when you leaving?
You know, that shows you how much you know. I just got offered the best job I ever had. You didn't hear me say I was going to take it, did you?
I didn't hear you turn it down.
I'm just keeping my options open.
That is so like you. You always do this, over and over and over again. You come into town, you make all these promises.
I just can't sit around like a fool waiting for you to be ready.
Oh my God. I'm you.
We never get to see if he makes good though because...
Oh! Dad? Oh! What's Dad? What's going on?
Sean and Jack aren't taking this very well.
He's in there with a heart attack and you're out here complaining about forms?
You've really been out of it since the ambulance ride.
Yeah, well, maybe you're not going through what I am.
I hate seeing it. I hate seeing them fight, I really do.
Whatever this nice room costs, I'm paying half.
Oh, look, don't worry about it, man. My stepfather's one.
My dad and I do not need charity from your family.
$2,000.
Okay.
A day.
What are they, out of their freaking minds?
Corey hears what's going on and encourages Sean to take this time to get closer to Chet.
But now you got him right in there, and he isn't going anywhere. Maybe I'm not the one you should be talking to.
When Jack and Sean get into another argument, Sean drops a monologue that completely and utterly demolishes me.
When you were a little kid, did you sit next to him while he watched TV all night long hoping that he'd say something to you? Did you ever once clean up after him when he came home drunk? And when he didn't come home at all, did you lay in bed thinking it was something you did that drove him away? And when he was gone, did you walk around and make believe that everything was okay when inside it was tearing you apart?
You see, I knew I had a father, and he was gone from me my whole life.
But you turned out okay, Jack.
I cry watching this show pretty much every other episode at this point, but this scene absolutely destroyed me because I know what happens next.
See, as my partner demonstrated, our theory was all wrong. Environment obviously has a stronger effect on behavior than we realized.
But you're not nervous now. You have overcome your environment.
Yeah, but you haven't.
I'm real screwed up. It's like I'm watching myself do these things that I hate. And I can't stop them. Wasn't I good enough for you?
No, Sean. Wasn't good enough for you.
I need you, Dad. I need you too, son.
I'm not going anywhere. Not this time.
You mean it? Dad, what's wrong?
Maybe you better call somebody.
Dad?
Somebody help! A doctor!
What breaks my heart and soul is that we don't get to see if Chet really changed.
Can you look after my boys after I'm gone?
Chet, you're not dying.
I don't mean dying. I mean when I move to Las Vegas.
Maybe he really meant what he said, but we don't get to see if he was even capable of change himself.
What, wouldn't you rather be here with your boys?
Please look after them.
We lost them. His heart wasn't strong enough.
As in life, sometimes we just don't get that storybook closure. You know what? Actually, there's another coming-of-age story that I keep coming back to. Like I mentioned before, I did read Oyasumi PunPun when I was 14 and not die. I've come back to the manga multiple times in the years following for similar reasons as Boy. I wanted to see how I felt about it. The thing about it though is that Oyasumi PunPun is a quite deliberate deconstructionist response to stories like Boy Meets World, in that it refutes the idea that growth is something guaranteed or even to be desired, instead focusing on a character who absolutely buckles under life's blows, is beset by trauma after trauma, soon enough inflicting that trauma onto others as well. I spoke about this along with Boy Meets World already in that one video, which regrettably still has my most views, and in it I particularly focus on the contrast in how it treats the idea of a childhood sweetheart compared to Boy. Aiko Tanaka is very much our protagonist's own Topanga Lawrence, or Winnie Cooper, except PunPun's obsession with her is somewhat treated as a developmental flaw. PunPun's denial of all the other factors in his life, which are in constant change, including an arguably unrealistically perfect new love interest, actively sabotages his life and makes his experiences worse. The story, like Boy Meets World or The Wonder Years, does not necessarily condemn them for their failings, but instead walks with them, even carving their reality to be molded and changed into their image of it, except with PunPun, the experience is unabashedly miserable. The worst flaw of it being potentially that PunPun romanticizes that misery too much, as the character does. I keep coming back to this story, except, unlike Boy, with each visit I am more unsettled by it. Well, for both of these stories, some of the tropes and actual writing flaws might be more apparent to me. See that damn obscenely watched video where I comment on how two-dimensional the writing of the love interest is for both of them. While with Boy, I find myself running back maybe for some sense of comfort, that things are going to be okay. With PunPun, time and time again, I am pierced with the arguably equally reassuring message that maybe that's a load of crap and life just sucks. In the end, maybe it's up to you to find your joy wherever it may lie and to not fold under the inevitable blows.
Ouais, faut pas vous faire écraser ici. Et on prend un verre?
Je vous connais pas?
Bah le quoi?
What I think they have in common though is the presence of a god of some kind. Of course, Oyasumi PunPun is Japanese, and traditionally their understandings of the concept of God is fundamentally different from the Judeo-Christian traditions of Boy. But I think both of these series have a constant guiding hand, someone looking over our characters. In PunPun, the god is sworn away and treated as a myth of the character's imagination. But for one, I wouldn't count out the real power of myth and the effects that belief has on a person's life. And two, I'm still not convinced that these characters' lives aren't guided by some divine being, although it is quite possible that God simply hates our protagonist.
But we're not all the sons of God.
Well, it depends on what you mean by God.
This part of Boy Meets World Season 6 reminds me of Oyasumi PunPun.
I know him. I am him. You're not, Sean. Yes, I am. Why can't I get close to anybody in my life? I'm exactly like him.
Let's look at Eric. Earlier this season, Eric, Jack, and Rachel volunteered to be Santa and his workers at the mall.
Is that Susie shops a lot?
Oh, well, it certainly is.
Well, I never got anything I asked Santa for.
Well, I don't think you were asking the right Santa.
And out of the kindness of his heart, Eric decided to really give out his presents to the orphans.
You know what? I want to help out, too. I'm going to use the money I was going to spend on the Bahamas trip.
I'll help you shop.
I will not rest until every needy kid gets what they ask for. Uh-oh.
Eric, nobody expects you to take care of all of the needy children.
Well, then why were they sent to me?
But one orphan, Tommy, returns his gift because he wants something else instead.
I was wondering if I can give this back and ask for something else instead.
Of course you can, Tommy. Anything you want.
Do you think I can have parents for Christmas?
No disrespect, but why would you send me that little boy? Why doesn't that nice little boy have parents? Why did you send me that little kid? And why do I only come to you when I need something? I will take care of this. I can be responsible for the happiness of one little boy.
Tommy and Eric have been hanging out as buddies since.
Well, you see, Tommy here doesn't have a family, so I thought it'd be nice if he could spend Christmas with us.
He and Jack, as mentioned before, have also been competing for Rachel's affection.
I love you, man. Dude, don't even, man. I'm the one that loves you. Dude, come on.
I can't figure out how to work the stopper in the bathtub. Can one of you please come show me?
But it was never really a big deal. They even started to calm down. But on the episode Getting Hitched, taking place right after a good time then...
Rachel, what is Eric's favorite fish?
Penguin.
No, I don't think you understood.
Eric decides to take a chance on pursuing Rachel for real after they play the fiancé game with cont'd and win.
Hey! Eric! You saw how in sync Rachel and I were. It's obvious to me that we were meant to be together.
Congratulations and get out.
I mean, ever since Rachel moved in, we've had this unspoken competition between the two of us. Sometimes, at night, I imagine he gets killed.
But he walks in on Rachel passionately making out with Jack on the couch. Jack is, of course, in his feelings because of the passing of his father, but Eric can tell that he has lost. Yes, I use the word lost, and it will be important later.
Yeah, it was just a friend comforting a friend.
That way no one gets hurt.
Oh, hey, I saw you two kissing.
He really needed a friend, and I tried to be that for him.
You're a good friend. I was in a dark place.
Right, and you know what? Come to think of it, I'll admit it. I may have gone a little too far.
You just all went too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know something? This talking thing, this feels really good. We should be able to talk about stuff when they just go too far.
I really respect that when somebody can just come out and say how they're feeling. No games.
I want to kiss you.
I want to kiss you too, Jack.
Meanwhile, Sean decides to go on a road trip with Cory to clear his mind. Though by the end of the weekend, Cory learns in a bit of deja vu to the start of season 4, Sean doesn't plan to come back. At least not for a while.
Cory, I'm not going home.
Why do you keep saying that?
Because you're not hearing it. That's what I needed to tell you.
Unlike then though, Cory actually allows him to take the space he needs to do what he has to do.
There comes a time in every man's life where he has to let go of the people he loves and, you know, let them find their own way. I mean, I don't know what you're looking for, but I guess you need to go away for a while to find it.
You gonna crank it up or what?
Dad?
Bet you didn't expect to see me, did you, son?
Chet's ghost frightened me when I was small. I thought it was actually supposed to be his literal ghost.
I miss you.
I know.
If you thought we've been chilling out for a bit, the next Valentine's Day episode has the late stage Cory Matthews sabotage his mother's baby shower. Have I mentioned she's pregnant?
Uh-oh!
And ruin everyone's day because he wants to have the perfect Valentine's date with Topanga.
Mom will still be pregnant tomorrow. This was our first engaged Valentine's Day.
Cory, your mother needed this.
I needed to make up for last year.
But at the end, Amy goes into labor.
We're having a baby. Right now.
Very prematurely. And something goes very wrong.
Bath time.
Doctor, his breathing is irregular.
What? No, it isn't.
Get him to ICU.
Wait.
Cory, we are here for a very important reason. Believe it or not, but there are other things in this world more important than us.
I don't believe it, because that's why we're getting married, because there is nothing more important than us.
I only got to hold him for a second. He's not breathing on his own. They've got him on a respirator. They don't know if...
We now have to spend another episode stuck in a hospital worrying.
I just want us to be the way we used to be. You know, Valentine's Day used to be such a big deal to you.
What does Valentine's Day have to do with it?
You were the one who said that holding hands is like touching souls.
Cory, like a certain bird fellow, refuses to acknowledge the reality in front of him, wanting Topanga to make it go away.
This is real. The reality is that your little brother is back there fighting for his life.
No. Reality is this hand.
I don't like it when you use us to hide from the rest of life, Cory.
I don't like it that you're not Topanga anymore.
We were kids. Nothing bad ever happened. The worst thing that happened was that your Pop-Tart fell on the ground.
And you held it up to the sky, and you said, God made dirt, dirt won't hurt, right?
But it was still dirty.
Yeah, but I ate it anyway.
There isn't anyone who can make it better.
It's only when Sean returns from his trip to support him that Cory finds the strength to push forward.
Man, are we gonna have fun with this kid?
The kid's gonna be our slave.
Oh, I'm gonna teach him everything I know.
Then I'll bail him out of jail.
Aren't you going to say anything to them?
Yes, I am. Boys, I hope you're right.
This episode is another one where the religious subtext seeps to the surface. As they're in such a bleak situation, even God himself appears to pray for them.
Michael. How's your son?
I think he smiled at me.
Michael Jacobs' cameo speaks to how much bigger this situation is to what they usually go through.
Oh, these are for all of us.
And it's comforting. Unlike in past episodes where things get wrapped up, things have been getting very real.
Well, something's bothering you. You're acting different.
Yeah? How do I normally act?
I don't want the kid to know about the baby, all right? The kid's got no family. He comes over here once a week to hang out with his big brother, Eric. The kid doesn't need to know about this.
The kid wants to know who's in the hospital, Eric.
It's humbling, and we don't get any guarantees that things are going to be alright.
I am really glad that you and Jack are here to spend this day with me.
How great are my friends, huh? I think they're in love with each other.
It is also in this episode that Eric confesses to Jack and Rachel that he's moving out.
And now, for our next trick, we shall disappear.
Joshua Gabriel Matthews. Gabriel means he who God protects.
God pulls through, and Joshua Matthews is born.
Well, Joshua Gabriel.
Let's go home.
Boy, I sure hope he doesn't grow up to fall for an underage Sabrina Carpenter.
Bye Topanga, bye Angela, bye Morgan, bye Mr. Feeney, bye Cory, bye Big Girl, bye Rat.
How comforting a conclusion. A wholesome reminder that no matter how tough life looks, we have God on our side in this show. I sure hope this season doesn't give us any more punishment.
I'm the oldest kid at St. Mary's. I don't even fit in my bed anymore.
Well, what do you want me to do, Tommy?
Are you gonna adopt me or not?
Tommy wants to be adopted by Eric, and we soon find out why.
We really care about him as much as you do. We wouldn't place him with just anybody.
I know, but I mean, come on, why do they have to live in California?
He loves Eric, but we know what's best for the boy.
Ruby didn't think it was impossible when Shaggy fell into the well.
Tommy, this isn't a cartoon.
He saved him. He saved him because he loved him.
We used to get lots of letters from Sarah telling us how happy she was. Then we got fewer letters, and then they stopped coming. Because we weren't her family anymore. They are. As much as it hurts, we love it when the letters stop.
Eric has to muster up the courage to do the right thing, though he knows that Tommy will hate him.
I'm not going to adopt you, Tommy.
Why not?
Because I'm not.
Yes, you are. I don't like you anymore.
Sorry to hear that, Tom.
And now I'm going to California to be with people who care about me.
I find myself frightened of the idea of maturity because of what it implies. That the way you are before being tainted by the blows of the world is imperfect, and the way to improve is to be more like the grown-ups, to better function within society. There's a particular tyranny about late teen to early 20s-hood. That's around the time you start to be forced to act like the grown-ups. Trouble is, society kinda stinks, so as a result we often find that these people start getting very loud and stage protests and getting very opinionated about that society. The dubious weather conditions and the atrocities being funded with their money, the oppression of themselves or those around them. Very immature stuff. The vehicles you used to be driven around in have actually been poisoning the air this whole time, and now it's time for you to get your license. Like it or not, you realize that to be a functioning member of society is not what you think. It's not what you want. But you are already being gobbled up and eaten by it. And your only options are to keep fighting, keep yelling with your immature self, and live a life of perpetual discomfort, or to give in, assimilate, to grow up, to mature. We tend to mature. That disturbs me. In almost every video I've made, pretty much since I've been viewed, it's now been a year, I have some criticism of my other work. I don't want to do that anymore. But unfortunately I keep disappointing myself.
How can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid?
In my mind, what I'm doing is taking accountability or acknowledging my shortcomings for the sake of transparency, when either my mind has changed or I just realize I could have done something better. But it could actually be that I'm covering my ass and I'm afraid of being quote-unquote incorrect or perceived in a way that I don't like. The non-depressing way of looking at it, I guess, is that I am a lost and confused 20-year-old and regrettably still growing. I talk like an old man and watch old movies, but be not fooled, I am a brat, and not in the cool Charlie XCX way. I flirted with this idea in my last video, but I put a lot of myself into these too much. And I think some of my blemishes as a person I've been translating into the work, including the part of myself that isn't fond of myself. But regrettably, I've found myself in that era of tyranny. And my mind is at constant war. War with the world, war with itself, shaving off some dead cells, accepting some new ones. With every passing day, I discover more and more things, learning more, unlearning more. You realize the you last year, last month, not last week is not the same as the you now. You don't know whether that's a good or bad thing. And I have a microphone to voice those thoughts. Your parents start to look strange to you, you start to look strange to them, you realize another thing has died, another world is destroyed, the life you want for yourself looks more and more distant as the immediacy of the world closes in and suffocates and stifles the old. Perhaps due to the asphyxiation, perhaps disillusionment, the old world, the old skin, the old self gives in to the new image. Who are you? What are you? Where are you going?
Nobody says anything stupid, okay? Hi. I'm sorry your daughter gave up Yale for me.
This season ends as Topanga's parents come to visit the Matthews, but immediately we can tell something's off. Some chicanery is afoot.
Well, that's my point, Rhiannon. There's nothing good on television.
Oh, what's the matter?
Ally McBeal.
Yes.
I'll tell you what's wrong with Ally McBeal. She has no passion for the law.
What?
And she takes issue with her husband's comments on television in front of other people.
Come on, Dad. Let's hear your Johnny Carson. Yeah.
Why is it no matter what I say, you have to take the opposite point of view?
Topanga must now learn that her parents, who formed the foundation of what she views as love, her role models, have now split.
You don't need to look at any other relationship as an example.
You're right. It's gonna be really hard for me and Cory to live up to you guys, but we're gonna try.
They thought we would be together forever.
Don't.
Topanga, haven't you ever wondered why we let you stay here when we moved to Pittsburgh?
Because of me.
Topanga, people change. Daddy, why is Mom talking like this?
We didn't want to dump this on you. We wanted to wait until after the
No.
wedding. Honey, look, we tried. We tried as
You
hard
guys
as
will get through this.
Marriage is not something to get through, Topanga. That's not why I got married.
Eric visits Jack and Rachel, who've apparently been doing nothing but kissing this whole time, and tells them that he gives them his blessing.
Riz, I'm not interrupting anything?
Oh, no, we were just, reading.
The Bible. I'm not going to try to make you feel uncomfortable or bad. 2 straws!
And admits defeat.
Maybe this should be just between you guys.
No, it's okay. Listen, remember how from the second we saw her, we both wanted her? Yeah. It was the competition that was so exciting. Yeah, it was.
What? What?
Yeah, I won that one.
Won what?
Won you.
I like that they don't explicitly show what the repercussions of that are. But the next time we see Jack and Rachel, they've amicably split. Mr. Feeney and Dean Bolander get married in the Matthews living room, but somehow all the other couples seem troubled.
Pedal to the metal, lost foot, and it was sugar in my gas tank. My cushion was a bosom on bad days. It's not a black woman, I can't thank.
Topanga, there are many reasons not to get married, but your parents getting divorced is not one of them.
It's important to face reality, and I'm glad you're okay. Now we can get back to planning our wedding.
Topanga breaks it off with Cory because of her parents, but we don't believe that for a second. We just need to see Cory go to her parents. Boy, divorce sure does change a person, doesn't it?
Cory told me that you wanted to see me.
He did? He told me the same thing.
I will try as hard as I can to forgive you. And I hope you find happiness with Marie.
And find out for himself that there's no fixing this.
Who's Marie?
Marie is the woman that he loves now.
But you were right. Everything I believed was wrong. Sometimes love just dies.
Hey, if I say I don't want to see you, then I don't want to see you. You got that?
Why is this boy lying in your doorway?
But when Angela's father, who's apparently in the military, comes to the college to visit his daughter, we learn that she and Sean have more in common than we thought.
Oh, no, he's just trying to get you to like him.
Well, I already like him, and he knows that because I told him so.
I'm not 12 years old. You're not going to tell me we're going to talk about it if I don't want to talk about it in front of Sean.
I understand about your mother, and I understand why you're afraid of our relationship.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, he told me, okay?
They both learn that they can be more than their parents' mistakes.
How could you have not told me?
That my mother walked out on me just like your mother walked out on you?
Yes.
I don't want to be closer together.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Because I don't want to hurt you.
And finally, not influenced by Cory and Topanga, who are still apart, they get back together.
You are not your mother. You're you.
I just don't want to hurt you anymore.
And try to forge their own future together. Topanga soon learns to confront her own demons, learning herself what happened to her parents.
I want to help her.
You tell her you left me for someone else, she'll hate you.
No, she won't. I'm her father.
Get out.
Honey.
Go!
And takes the leap of faith to give her heart to Cory once again.
This is new.
Wherever life takes us, I want it to be with you. Forever. Or until tomorrow.
Season 7, the final season, would see Cory and Topanga move forward with their marriage, as we tie up a few loose ends. Unlike the dramatic, plot-heavy Season 6, 7 once again returns to the episodic comedic structure, though it does have its moments. I haven't seen Friends because of the probably unrequited feud Seinfeld fans have with it, but I imagine this is what the show is like. We see these young adults hanging out, getting into conflict, and just going through college life. It's kind of a vibe. In a two-parter towards the back end of the season, they get into a fight that escalates from a small prank saga.
Get him, Feeny.
Did you really put a car in her room? That's great. These kinds of antics will not be tolerated. How did you do it?
That inevitably gets taken too far, and soon enough, the relationships dissolve.
You went too far, Sean. This was bad.
Oh, Angela, I don't know whose side you're really on. I had that picture made when Jack and I were dating, and I've had it under my bed ever since.
You weren't on anybody's side.
What are you talking about? Everybody wanted me.
No, nobody wanted you.
Only for Eric to go to the lengths to tie them together.
So what if we can't fix things?
Well, then you will go through life without each other.
And we can do this? We're all adults here.
She started it.
He parked in my spot.
She overreacted.
They took apart my car.
She glued my pants.
These friendships aren't what we thought they were.
Reminding them of the importance of friendship.
Okay, fine. We're not friends today. I'll see you tomorrow. I mean, Mr. Feeney, why are you keeping us locked up here?
We get a glimpse at what happens to each of them in the future if the fight isn't resolved.
Hey, Sean. Cory.
So good to see you guys. Oh my God. But I gotta go though. You know, I gotta catch a plane or something.
It's been a long time. Maybe we should keep it that way.
Yeah, why don't we?
How you doing?
Fine, my son.
Eric?
My name is Plays with Squirrels.
Plays with Squirrels is one of the best gags in the show, but it is also deeply heartbreaking.
The Secret of Life by Plays with Squirrels. That thing is like 3,000 pages long. Nope, 3,000 blank pages. Only the first one has writing on it.
What does it say?
Lose one friend, lose all friends, lose yourself. Nothing else seemed important.
It is a great arc, and I think it beautifully illustrates how easily relationships of any kind can unravel if they are not nurtured, or the wrong buttons get pushed. I've seen it happen.
Mr. Feeney, you're out. Feeney! All right, dismissed. All right.
Before Cory and Topanga get married, and after Jack and Rachel split, the girls all move into the apartments.
We got bullies, man. Big, vicious bullies. What do we do?
By definition, bullies will back down, whether they're banana-eating gorillas or 3 cute little co-eds who have made a mockery of your name.
Oh no, my name's Mockery.
But only after they and Eric and Jack have a WWE style wrestling match for it.
Where am I?
Eric. We have to talk about Eric.
I think it was clear that my life needed examination and change. A drastic measure needed to be taken. Would you like to know what he did? What I did? No! I did a little something called this.
The IRL reason for this is that at the time, apparently they were working to get him his own spin-off. His character arc for the show really ended last season, so here, with nothing grand or emotional to do in this final season, we are greeted with lobotomized Eric. In universe, Eric has lost everything. All his ambitions, his loves, his friends. He is now left as a shell of himself. So he's cut his hair, and he's visibly gained a bit of weight. Will has opened up about his weight struggles growing up, and around this time would be when his anxiety really started to get bad, which is why he mainly does voice work now rather than stuff in front of the camera. But Eric visibly looks different in this season, and boy oh boy does he act different. Something in him has broken. It is honestly so sad. But Will's performance is so funny.
They should lock him up.
In the episode after the wrestling match, Eric stalks and sneak attacks Topanga at random moments for revenge.
I'm gonna get you! You are a disgrace to this university, to this country, and humanity in general.
Wow.
And I want 40 minutes of tranquility, starting now. I quit.
The tag even ended up being a blooper reel of a scene they just couldn't get through because it was too funny.
It is 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're crushing Eric.
After the arc from the last season was wrapped up, we see Cory and Topanga prepare for marriage.
This is your wedding, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. Your friends are stinking liars. Sean paid him $50 each, and I wouldn't use this dress to wipe my...
And even a bit of the struggle that comes with the newlywed life.
You can't even play solitaire, imbecile! Did you hear that okay from my big mouth?
You know what, Topanga? I used to be able to. I used to be able to do a lot of things before I married you.
Sean and Angela are more in love than ever, now living in defiance to what both of them thought their lives would be. But then there's that ending, which we will get to. The episode before the marriage is a cute little mockumentary where they go through all the stresses and trials of marriage prep.
Okay, don't do this. Look at me, I'm begging you. Quiet, half-breed. You know something, Topanga? If I can't be the best man, then I'm gonna be the groom. Topanga, I love you. Ever since I saw you through that peephole in the bathroom.
There's no way we'll make it until June. It's just no way. I'll do something very bad to Eric.
Ending with a sweet little invite card to the reception and a link to their prehistoric website with all the details.
I hate him. He's a self-centered, whining, demanding, miserable little white boy.
What happened, my brother?
In true sitcom fashion, the wedding episode is full of hijinks, but it is given heart, surprisingly not by Cory and Topanga's relationship, but his and Sean's.
Cory, you've been being a jerk to me.
That's because you're the one that forgot the tuxedos, and you're the one that didn't tie the tin can. I shouldn't have even come here. Have a wonderful life, jerk. You too, trailer trash!
They know their priorities now have to change. Cory and Sean won't be dorming together anymore, and they'll be having less time to spend together in general.
He doesn't care that we're not gonna be friends anymore! Why do you keep saying that, huh? You won't talk about it! I don't want to talk about it! Why do you think I've been sending you everywhere? We have to talk about it! I don't want to!
After an equally hilarious and heartbreaking fight, Sean's speech to Topi made me cry.
Cory and I both know that we're not gonna be best friends anymore, and that's the way it should be. Take care of him, okay?
I will.
Eric managed to land them this cushy wedding site, but we know something's gonna go very wrong very fast.
Eric, this wedding was more than enough.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I hold in my hand a key to the honeymoon suite of the Philadelphia Victoria Hotel.
Bye! I love you.
I love you. And I love Eric.
What?
Oh, this beautiful wedding he arranged, this beautiful room, makes up for everything bad he's ever done to us.
I love you.
I love you.
Please pull away from the young lady and put your hands where I can see them. Now, kill me.
The honeymoon, aka
Sex! Sex! 俺はセックスをするんじゃねえ！俺自身が真のセックスになるんじゃ！セックス！やめろ！たけしお前これ以上は体力が持たない！いや俺はセックスになる！絶対にセックスになるんだ！セックス！セックス！やめろ！死んじまうぞたけし！おめえ命が尽きても尽きたらセックスができねえだろうが！うるせえ！俺は死んだってセックスをするんだ！うわー！セックス！
episode more or less exclusively exists, so the show can establish, yes, they have finally done it. Multiple times. Many times. They've made love now, and I kid you not, late stage Cory Matthews never re-enters the chat, and our boy is cool as a cucumber for the rest of the season. It's probably the worst, most pointless episode of the show, but one thing it is worth noting for is, I can't make this video without acknowledging that, can I? The very first video I made and posted to this channel was about the evil of the children's entertainment industry, particularly using the case study of Victorious and the utter neglect of Nickelodeon in the care they put into the content and rhetoric of their shows. And worse, the actors on them. Earlier this year, when the mini-documentary series Quiet on Set came out, there was not that much new information, but rather it brought lots of rumors and poorly kept industry secrets to the surface, as actual actors and staff who worked on Dan Schneider's shows during the height of his power came out and in very explicit, gross detail discussed some of the mess that went on those sets. The most infamous of these revelations being Drake Bell coming forth and discussing a series of assaults that were committed to him as a child by one Brian Peck, who used his power and influence to isolate the boy from his father and amass an army of influential figures in the industry to defend him when the charges were eventually pressed. This tiki man in the episode of Boy Meets World is that very Brian Peck, who had been working behind the scenes as an acting coach for the children since at least the 5th season. On that show, he made a few young friends as well, among them being one Ryder Strong and Will Friedle, who would soon, along with dozens of other industry figures, write letters in support of this individual against the charges and possibly defend him in court. I'm not really sure. Naturally, I saw the documentary and I listened to Pod Meets World, which is hosted by Will, Ryder, and Danielle, and perhaps in anticipation for the inevitable fallout for the documentary, they released an episode coming forward and talking about their experience with Peck and their own compliance with defending him. It's tough. Finding out about their involvement was like finding out about the Roman Polanski petition of 2009, which you can look up yourselves if you don't know about it. And once again reminds me of why I think the industry is corrupt at its very core. Though with similar activities going on YouTube as well, I have to acknowledge that it's not just a Hollywood thing, it is a matter of power in general. Since then, they've had their individual conversations with Drake, and they all seem to be in a much better place.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Ryder and Will for almost 2 hours each separately.
Wow.
And it was really nice. I mean, and they both been checking up on me. They've sent me, they send me messages on a regular basis saying, "Hey man, I'm just checking in on you. Are you okay?"
This will no doubt be a lifelong process for all of them. I think it's a nuanced issue. And while I won't deny that they've also been victimized in a certain way, I don't want the mess of internet noise to lose sight of the immediate victim and the larger conversation that is to be had of the entertainment industry. Back to the show though. Cory and Topanga now have to worry about finding a place to stay because the college has a special place for married couples.
Please stop crying. Please stop crying.
They go to all their friends and families for help.
What do you do in that house, Feeny? You eat?
What's the matter with you two?
Their friends can't help them because they just can't. But Cory's family refuses.
It would only be until they got on their feet.
No. Dad, I'm your son. You don't tell your son no. No.
In the end, the couple is forced to deal with the hand they've been dealt and fix up the place and start from scratch.
The water spout is, but the itsy bitsy spider just laid about 5 million eggs up my nose.
You fix it yet, Mr. Plumber?
How could anybody do anything good around here? Oh my gosh. Look. Finger, look at this. It's clear.
It turns out that this was Amy and Alan's plan all along.
Did you go into this marriage thinking you were just going to play house and we were going to bail you out of trouble? This is your life. Deal with your life.
I've never understood what seems to be an American tradition, at least of this time, of kicking your kids out the second they hit 18. But what saves this for me is the fact that they do actually have a place to stay.
We have bugs.
Everybody's got bugs.
Our bugs have cars.
And it is within their power to do something about it.
Cory, you got a great place to start right here.
So they're not stranded. Though there is something to be said for the very individualist, pull yourself up narrative it preaches rather than commenting on how harrowing the conditions of the college students who need housing often is. Anyways, Sean still has more punishment to go through.
Nothing. I got a letter from my mom, from Verna.
Tear it up.
Cory, I haven't heard from her in 3 years.
Just tear it up.
He receives a letter from his mother, Verna, and Cory, in a rare case of post-nuptial clarity, can see where this is going.
Everything's going great for you, okay? You've got friends, you've got a beautiful, honest, sweet, loving...
Thanks, Cory.
Shut up! There's no good in that letter.
She's never coming back. That's nothing new.
Sean?
She's not my real mother.
Sean gets drunk again and crashes Alan's birthday party when he finds out that his mother, Verna, who we saw in that 4th season, was not the woman who gave birth to him.
Oh, boy.
Sean.
Aren't you disappointed? She's disappointed.
Dude.
Sean.
Oh, come on, man.
Come on, man. Man, buddy. Sean. Hey.
Hey, you're not supposed to be drinking, right?
Everything was going well for him, but still, after his father isn't even here to torment him anymore, now that his mother is nowhere to be seen, he still perhaps chooses to allow himself to get hurt again.
I'm an orphan. My childhood is over, and I never had any parents. Oh, God, stop whining. I hate you.
Before we reach the end of the show, there are 2 episodes I want to get into. Brotherly Shove returns to the theme we saw in the pilot, this time with Eric.
Hey, you guys having a little party here? No, it's just hurting your brother.
What you up to?
Well, apparently not having as much fun as you guys are.
Cory's arc at this point is complete. He's married, he has friends who love him, a family. Eric's pretty much been left in a limbo state since the last season. When he sees Cory cleaning out their garage with Sean and Topanga instead of him, he can't hide his disappointment.
Besides, I didn't want you to waste a Saturday.
But you didn't mind asking Sean to waste a Saturday.
Sean loves this stuff. Remember where he's from.
I do love trash.
It's an odd episode structurally.
By the way, I forgot to tell you, Dad called last night, and he wanted me and you to look for Grandpa's toolbox after calling you calling me about us cleaning out the garage together.
There aren't any clear-cut messages like we're used to seeing with the show.
Oh, we had a lot of fun on that sled.
Yeah, we did. You think $2?
No Feeny wisdom, nothing like that. We just see the complexities of this relationship we've established from the first episode play out.
You know, I don't want to sell my glove.
It's my glove.
You gave it to me.
It's a garage sale, Cor. You know, why don't we just sell it? You don't use it, I don't use it, let's just be done with it.
Eric gets into a fight when defending Cory at the garage sale, and it turns into an all-out brawl.
Could you be any more annoying?
Watch your mouth, that's my wife.
Could she be any more annoying?
That's my brother! Nobody hits my brother!
So this guy walks into a bar.
Hey! That's my brother!
Topanga tells Cory how she and Sean were jealous of him for having an older sibling to grow up with, since theirs unfortunately evaporated from existence.
We're completely different people, Topanga. And besides, where is it written that you have to spend time with your brother?
I remember when that's all you wanted to do. I was jealous. Sean was too.
By the end, they don't necessarily patch things up, but they have a mutual understanding and respect for each other.
Put your dress down, Matthews.
All right.
Angela's Ashes, the penultimate episode, has her father return again, but this time he's announcing he has to go to Europe.
How long is it gonna be this time?
A year.
That's forever.
Not if you come with me.
Sean, at the advice of Cory, pretends to be supportive in hopes that she'll choose to stay with him.
Listen, I'm so sorry for what I did.
What did you do?
I woke up alone this morning.
Cory, I had my on-campus interviews for the Brown Elliott internship this morning.
Oh, yeah!
But when he sees how much this time with her father means to her, he lets her go.
You're the only person that knows how important it is for me and my dad to spend this time together. I only wish you and your dad had this time together.
Let's talk about Sean and Angela. People, not gonna lie, this whole episode is BS.
Can I help you?
Aren't you gonna kiss me for good luck?
Good luck. Thanks. You failed because you have absolutely no idea what's going on with your woman.
Where was Topanga going?
I don't know. Laundromat?
It's well done and it justifies itself, but it's such a contrived way to take Angela out of Sean's life and write her as in Trina McGee, out of the finale. While I like Sean's story and the arc as a perfect response to Cory's, something does burn me about how a relationship this unique was seemingly doomed from the start. Sean is beset at all sides by this universe, and it almost seems to go out of its way to cause him sadness. Also, I was acutely aware that whenever Angela was shown dating a man that wasn't Sean, they were black. Not that there's anything wrong with the black woman dating black men. Leave me alone, Dr. Umar. But it stinks that the one interracial couple was broken apart, seemingly by fate. And just before the finale too. What complicates this even more is that on Pod Meets World, Trina dropped the bombshell that she had been told by someone involved with the show that she did not specify who, but someone said that the cast didn't want her on the finale. Naturally, Danielle, Ryder, and Will were shocked and horrified to hear that. Considering how close they all are now, I'm mostly inclined to believe them, but, you know, like the quiet on set thing, who really knows in the end but them? All of this complication makes it difficult for me not to believe, especially considering how much of a left field choice it was to write her out of the show just before the end. That race was not a factor here.
Cory, I got that Brown Elliott internship.
Huh?
They offered me a scholarship at NYU Law School. And they told me that once I graduate and pass the bar, they would like me to work for their firm.
The show ends with Topanga getting accepted into law school in New York. Cory, who was preoccupied with Sean and Angela's life last episode, didn't notice as she was going through the whole process.
Don't spin out of control.
Why didn't no one tell me? Why didn't no one tell me about this? Please, someone's gotta tell me! Someone's always gotta tell Cory! Why, God? Why?
After initial resistance, and upon learning from Mr. Feeney that Topanga did in fact not decline Yale for him.
Okay, she's got an internship at a law firm in New York City. And she turned it down because of me.
What if she didn't turn it down because of you? She was successful in whatever she did. Here.
Well, I think she'd be successful anywhere.
Does she? Did you know that before she decided not to go to Yale, she came to my office to talk to me?
Right, she didn't want to go to Yale because of me.
Yes, that's what she said.
Cory decides to support her, so the couple head off for New York.
I need room to grow, Topanga, and I don't think it's fair that you're keeping me from growing.
You would do this for me?
Topanga packs Sean's stuff for him to join them, maybe out of fear that he'll kill himself if he stays.
This is for you.
What's that?
His stuff.
Yeah! I can't just pack up and leave. I mean, I've got a mother and a father and a girlfriend and a good job and...
And Eric, now graduated from college, decides to go too so he can have a chance to reinvent himself.
Ooh, that was a new one!
It's a two-parter clip show episode, and while I usually hate that kind of thing, I love the show and I loved it.
Mr. Feeney? Mr. Feeney! Mr. Feeney! Mr. Feeney!
Come here. Come here, I want to tell you something. You know what's out there? The world. You're going to be part of it someday. Even though it'll seem like the world's going out of its way to teach you these hard lessons, you're going to realize that, you know, it's the same world that's giving you your family and your friends, you know? And you're going to come to believe that the world's going to protect you too. Boy meets world. Now I get it.
It ends with the squad meeting Mr. Feeney in the old 6th grade classroom.
What?
We're leaving.
This scene was apparently done in just one take, and there were lots of accidents throughout the whole episode, but it does create a very raw feel.
It's pretty scary. Going into a whole new world.
And you're ready to go into that world.
Even me.
Even you.
From the point where Topanga gets up and hugs Feeney, I am in tears.
You were more of a father to me than my own dad.
You never give up on me. Never once. I don't know what's gonna happen to me, but I do know that I'm gonna be a good person who cares about people. And I blame you for that.
You coming with us, Mr. Feeney? You gonna sneak up on us in Central Park or something?
No, I shall remain here.
No, you'll always be with us.
They each say their goodbyes, they pay their tributes. I cry. And then Mr. Feeney says to an empty classroom,
I love you all. Class dismissed.
Cory's arc is now over. Topanga's is just beginning. Sean and Eric's still uncertain, but at least for now, class dismissed.
How you doing?
Mr. Feeney, why did I expect anybody to come and hear me talk about my life? My life is meaningless.
In the play of your life, all your great scenes lie ahead of you.
Mr. Feeney, you know everything. Where does my life go from here?
Well, now you have passion, you have drive, you certainly have guts. I frankly can't wait to see what happens to you.
My 20th year doesn't look the way I thought it would when I was 14, but I would like to think I'd be proud of me anyway. According to Kierkegaard, life can only be understood backwards, and looking at the past 9 years I can draw a pretty picture. However, after another 9 years it could look completely different. I don't know what I'll think about my life 20 years from now if I'm still here. I don't quite think I believe in things like fate and destiny right now, but not free will either. I think there's a lot of stuff going on that govern where we are, where we end up, what we think. I am where I am because of an external force that's bigger than me. Maybe it's God. Maybe it's a cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Maybe it's a room full of white men somewhere. But I'm here now. Maybe I'm a big idiot and I've disappointed my puppet masters. Maybe I'm supposed to defy them and forge my own path. Perhaps even expand the narrative. Maybe all of that's an illusion that I'll eventually grow out of. I think this is better than what I would have wanted when I was younger, but maybe that's cope. I'm as old as I've ever been and as young as I'll ever be, but here I am. I don't want to repeat the mistakes of my parents, but I hear their words in mine, I see my face and theirs. Maybe that's inevitable. Maybe the children I won't have will think the same of me. I hope they know I tried. Maybe they hope I know they tried.
Hi, Mr. Hunter. Sean's gonna be okay. Thanks.
Well, I guess I'll have to see it through, won't I? I don't want to talk about Girl Meets World. At this point, the essay is pretty much over. I am not about to do a full-blown Girl Meets World analysis or something crazy like that, but I guess I can't not talk about it a little bit. Most Boy Meets World fans view Girl Meets World as utter garbaggio, but I'm actually somewhat of a Girl Meets World apologist. What I think it is a tragedy. It could have been great, but it got sabotaged by being a Disney Channel show. The main purpose it serves for fans of Boy Meets World is that it ties up a lot of loose ends and adds closure to many arcs, characters, and storylines that were left ambiguous. Minkus, maybe the greatest anomaly in Boy Meets World, is a regular recurring character.
Minkus! Topanga!
Stuart.
Topanga!
Father.
Farkle? Wait a minute.
So is John Turner.
Okay, so why do I have to do anything?
Who many fans legit thought was dead.
I hear you want to dismiss a couple of educators, Yancy?
She's here one day, and she's teaching comic book.
My first day, I taught the X-Men.
That's funny. Oh, no.
Holly Kiner is a janitor of the kids' school, a job that Cory gave him.
You think I'm hiding out, don't you? Well, Farkle doesn't hide out from anyone.
You're avoiding someone, Farkle.
I don't really think it's something you could relate to, Janitor Harley.
Because I would never understand how cruel kids could be to each other, right?
And uses his place to give words of advice to the kids and be an anti-bullying advocate.
Will my friend be all right? I believe these belong to you. This is Mr. Matthews.
Yeah. People change.
It's so wholesome. But it is Eric and Sean in particular, the tragic characters of Boy Meets World, were given pretty pink bow endings in the show. Though one of these endings is definitely more satisfying than the other.
Daddy, what are you doing here? Being smarter than me. How come you're always smarter than me?
Here's what I'm thinking. It's not your world yet. It's still my world.
Girl Meets World upon this rewatch is very much Boy Meets World's successor, but with none of the subtlety or the time to flesh out the characters.
How long do I have to live in my father's world?
Until you make it yours. Riley, go ahead. Make it yours.
From the first scenes of the first episode, they are directly talking about the world, whereas Boy, when started getting meta that way in the latter parts of the show.
Yes, finally, something good happens for Cory. The world is my friend.
While I would maybe call Boy Meets World spiritual with a Judeo-Christian foundation, Girl Meets World is straight up religious.
Mr. Fryer, I took particular note of your position that evolution does not preclude the existence of
a guiding hand that has your best interests at heart.
Riley and her friends talk directly about the world and what the universe wants. She literally falls into the lap of her love interest and immediately things are set in motion.
Let's not think. Hi.
Maya from the very start establishes her troubled home life.
I have nobody at home who helps me with my homework.
And feelings of dejection.
You failed me.
Why don't we talk about this after class?
What's there to talk about? You failed me. Riley and I are the best friends on this planet.
Cory and I are the best friends in all of existence, which includes your little crummy planet.
Cory, the nepotist schmuck, lets his daughter and her friends take over the class and deliberately revolves the lessons around whatever is happening in their lives.
May I overstep my bounds, sir?
You always do.
All of this is taken from Boy, but at least then it was a bit more grounded in reality. Cory and Sean would link the lessons to their lives rather than Feeney just outright preaching to them directly. Or when he did do those great speeches or give advice, it was outside of class time. Also, the more direct, This Is How the Universe Works philosophy of Girl has some implications on the Sean storyline that I don't necessarily think I like. More on that later though. The first season is more or less beat for beat repackaged plotlines and episodes from Boy. Like, it was kind of crazy. There were some high concept episodes which were lifted straight from the high school years, such as Riley getting invited to a party instead of Maya, only to realize it was a geek party.
Announcing the arrival of party guest number 6, female number 1. I'm a female, Farkle.
This was literally the exact plot of a season 2 episode of Boy.
So, who's here? Who's hot?
No one. Hey, Alvin. Hey, Simon. Hey, Ubaldo.
Also, both of those are stolen from an episode of Leave It to Beaver, when the Beaver gets invited to a party only to find out he was the only guy there, but eventually has fun when he finds her father's gun collection. There was also an episode where a girl named Missy tried to get between Riley and her love interest, Lucas.
What are these? Place cards?
Yep, I made them. You sit over there.
One girl may have flirted with me. You're making it sound like all girls, I don't know, Missy Robinson are gonna come over and suddenly make small talk.
Again, literally the exact same thing happened, down to the name Missy in Boy Meets World.
Oh, it's very pretty. My girlfriend Topanga has one just like it, but longer.
Hi.
Lunchroom lady, lunchroom lady.
But while Girl has a rough start, I'd argue it does find its footing as it goes on, and by season 2 it starts to become its own show. Girl Meets World struck me as unique from even back when I was young because, like Boy, it deliberately sets out to teach life lessons, but this setting is not that of the 90s. It brings an earnestness and naive joy into a world that's grown more cynical, and for good reason. As much as some of the rhetoric and internal logic pisses me off, I can't help but appreciate what the show is trying to do. It brought up a lot of serious topics Disney shows literally never touch. I particularly enjoyed how they treated an episode where Riley was getting bullied.
Okay, now can we please go to school now and get out of Riley Town? What? I just said, can we get out of Riley Town? That's just a word I made up. I know what it means.
While over the top as the show always is, I was surprised how touched I was by it.
Why would you not tell me about this?
I should be able to fight my own battles, Lucas.
No, you shouldn't. That's the point of having friends.
And Rowan's performance actually kind of got me. I might have cried. I cried, alright? I cried. I straight up cried. Leave me alone.
Riley Town.
Stop saying that! People shouldn't make fun of other people. What did I ever do to you? You exist, and you're weird, and you get in the way of where I'm looking, so stop being weird, and stop being happy. Stop being who you are.
Then there are other episodes I wanted to burn with fire, such as one where Minkus's boy Farkle's world comes to pieces when he learns that he might possibly have the terminal illness of autism.
You don't. Let's go tell them you don't. I might have a type of autism called Asperger's syndrome. You don't.
The best I can possibly say of the episode is that when I first expressed to people that I suspect I might possibly be on the spectrum after looking at the traits, this was their reaction too.
We'll get the results from today's interview and we'll know.
We know. Guys, I passed every single test I've ever taken.
But for a show which is trying to teach kids about these topics, maybe don't treat neurodivergence as this big scary thing which causes all our characters to panic.
It doesn't matter how she learned, it's new.
She cheated! That was loud.
Cheated is a word. You know what else is a word? Shared.
I don't even want to talk about that strange pro-American dream anti-communism episode. I don't just mean in the sense that these shows are always pro-capitalist structurally. Like, they literally did an episode where the kids learned about communism.
Why should we be in competition with each other? Why should we be motivated by report cards? Why shouldn't we all help each other out to know exactly the same thing?
Look at this.
And thought it sounded cool, particularly Maya because she's poor.
From each according to his ability.
To each according to his need. Whoa! We're commies!
But then wraps up with them learning that it's actually not cool John Lennon and Groucho Marx, but boring old Vladimir Lenin and Karl Marx.
How do we get 100% and get a C?
Because when you get everything right, but you don't do it yourselves, it makes you average. Look at you. You're all the same. You're average. You're common.
and individualism and American exceptionalism is better. This is the literal plot of an episode of a children's television show which aired within the last decade and not 1946.
Farkle, you're a man of science.
I needs me my proof.
And Lucas.
I have beliefs that work for me, sir.
Well, this is gonna be fun.
Then there was an episode on religion which went about how you'd expect based on this whole essay.
You need to believe in things. I might if my life was as hunky-dory as yours. How can you go through life so blind, so trusting?
I do trust in certain things.
Why?
I don't know, I just feel like I have a better life because of it.
You have a better life because of look at ya.
I don't have any strong feelings about it because this whole show, for me, watching it this time, has been very religious throughout.
I mean, do you really believe he hears everything you say?
Do you like computers?
I do.
Can I find out everywhere you've been with just one click?
Yeah.
God can't do that?
And if anything, it's at least attempting to preach about religious tolerance.
Why won't everybody just believe everything I believe?
They won't?
No.
How dare they?
Even though the show's bias shows with essentially boiling down to non-Christians being taught to be more tolerant towards Christianity.
First you'll have to prove God to me.
Okay, take a deep breath, Farkle. That air that's between you and me, what color is it?
It's clear, Mr. Matthews. I believe in you because I can see you.
Roy G. Biv.
Uh-oh.
And the other side not being given an heir at all. I do think there is a missed opportunity for Riley to be Hindu or Buddhist, given that Topanga had a flirtation with those religions when she was younger.
Why don't I get a bat mitzvah? What's your Hebrew name? Riley Matthews.
And we expect the stereotype of the Southern Lucas to be Christian.
People, families, mothers, fathers.
The sky, the stars, the whole universe.
All of it. Everything we see and we don't see. I like to think of that as a part of God refracted.
One thing I have mixed feelings about is that whole love triangle plotline. I never enjoyed it because this kind of love triangle drama business has never been my speed.
Maya, why do you make fun of me?
Because you're easy to make fun of.
Okay, then stop.
Look, if I had feelings for you, don't you think I'd just come right out and say it? Well, I don't, so what I do say is, ha-ha.
But I do thematically like the complication of what if the love interest we expect to end up together doesn't work out, actually.
Riley still loves Lucas.
It ends getting all patched up and Maya's feelings are resolved as adolescent confusion.
I'm a teenager. No teenager knows who they are.
Maya, I know who you are. Even your art teacher says that this isn't you.
But I might attribute that to the show not being given the time it needed to be fleshed out. Another thing I did not like was how the show put pressure on them to act.
If you like Lucas, then you're gonna have to take him from me.
You'd let me?
No! No, I wouldn't. You know why? Because you taught me that.
Lucas has to decide who he likes. Riley has to admit her feelings. Maya has to figure out how she feels. Truly did not understand why they made this emphasis. Like, if you confuse children, don't figure out your feelings and put them into the open, something bad's going to happen.
You ever heard of the horn of Gabriel? No. He's an angel. They say when he blows his horn, it's the end of time. If you don't tell everybody how you really feel, his horn blows at midnight.
Like, no? Why? Speaking of no why, Sean's character arc in this show must be studied.
He went through her purse.
What?
Girls, trust us. It was very romantic in high school.
So basically, he fell in love with the concept.
It was doomed from the start.
I'll say this though, I appreciate how the Boy Meets World alums are treated in regards to what they've been doing after the finale. I can believe that Jack turned into a cold-hearted capitalist after he got separated from Eric.
What, I need a reason to see my friend? So we're still friends? Because I haven't seen you in a really long time. I'm waiting for some evil guy from some evil company who's going to come in and try to sleaze his way into my pocket to buy my vote. The evil company is scum who turns clean water into dirty water and hires really good-looking employees with pocket squares and hair that goes swoosh.
I believe that Mr. Turner became the head of school something something. Why he also ended up in New York is a bit of a mystery, but whatever. I can also buy Cory getting Harley his job as a janitor, though it is suggested that something happened to Harley between the series. Maybe he got arrested or something and Cory found out somehow and helped him out, because Girl suggests that Cory took a chance on him, which isn't quite something we see in Boy. Might have even made more sense for Frankie to fulfill that role. But then again, I'd like to believe he's a successful poet somewhere. Eric was maybe handled a bit sloppily.
But
I love plays with squirrels, but this is Flandersation at its finest.
What are the primary causes of war? You may be wondering why I'm... Not now. Eric, you can't beat this guy.
He's done bad things. People who do bad things shouldn't be in power.
In the show, he ends up running and even getting elected for senator, despite being a barely functioning human being.
We have children and we make our whole lives about them.
I'm sorry, hold on a minute. Did you just say you had children?
What saves it, though, is the fact that he has help from a mysterious glasses-wearing hipster.
And no, I don't have kids yet, but I care about them very much.
You can't prove it.
But I can.
Who we soon learn in a scene that left me sobbing almost as hard as the Chet death is actually.
My name is TJ Murphy. Thomas Jonathan Murphy. Eric Matthews once knew me as...
Tommy?
Eric, at this point, only has his heart, even though the world is kicking him around. And the fact that maybe one of the most gutting plot lines in Boy is resolved here hits surprisingly hard.
The best thing Eric ever did for me was one of the hardest decisions he had to make. He gave me up.
And almost makes me forgive the universe for what it has done to this man.
Look at you.
Let's talk about Sean, though. Sean is introduced as Cory's long-distance boyfriend.
Gee, Cor, thought you'd be more excited to see me.
Who is uneasy around Riley for some reason.
How could you possibly not like Riley?
Maya,
What is she talking about?
whenever you do come here, it's like you find some excuse not to talk to me and then you leave.
We soon learn that he was the first person to hold her after her parents.
I was there all night.
Why do you remember it all so well?
It was the day I left New York City.
City wasn't big enough for the both of you?
And that he left New York on that same day, which makes complete sense to his character. He now lives as a photographer, traveling the world running a blog, one which Maya is a fan of.
I travel late, I just need a cup of coffee and a sandwich.
I can completely buy that Sean felt driven to leave the town because the Matthews family reminded him of everything he lacked.
Every time you see me, does it remind you of what you don't have?
Check!
But instead of how Boy Meets World acknowledges that not everyone will have the same fairy tale life of Cory and Topanga,
What is it with us?
What is it with us?
Riley has a plan.
I want Sean to be Maya's dad.
Wow.
On one hand, this is as audacious as Topanga running away from her family for Cory in a based, defying the laws of the universe kind of way, but on the other, my god, would it kill this show to acknowledge that the whole nuclear family model just might not be for everyone?
You're the guy Maya doesn't stop talking about. The Matthews friend. You guys all went on a family weekend together. And if you ever question my motherhood again, I will smash a plate over your head.
Who is this white lady? Where's my girlfriend? Sean becoming Maya's father doesn't even necessarily mean that there must be some contrived romance with Maya's mother. They didn't have to make Angela's inevitable guest appearance
Awkward. I now pronounce you awkward.
be that of a threat, who ultimately tells him to go with the white lady.
I'm married now.
Yay!
Even naming the episode Hurricane.
Why'd you leave me?
I wasn't ready. I think life puts people in front of us so that we can be prepared for what comes next.
Hope life knows what it's doing.
Honestly, Sean was doing just fine anyways. But on one hand, the show is, in its own way, trying to amend the unfairness that has been placed upon people like Sean and Maya.
Is she the one?
What? No.
Is she the one, Sean?
I don't know her enough to know anything.
Life knows what it's doing.
Almost no one likes the direction the show went with his character, and it's just going to have to be what it is. Girl Meets World ultimately ended after 3 seasons, with the cast just having started high school, and I can tell that there was so much more that they wanted to do with it. For all its misgivings, the actors were all great, particularly Sabrina Carpenter, and I'm not just saying that because she's kinda taken over the world. She's genuinely doing the most with some often questionable material. 5 out of 10, though I must say I was surprised how much I enjoyed watching it this time around. How do you end a thing like this cleanly? I set out when I was 14 to make something about Boy Meets World and what I had learned by the time I was 20. It ended up being not some grand thesis about the meaning of life, but rather the struggle of trying to figure out what that is. I tend to avoid outright conclusions. The few times I have done that, I end up feeling funny about it. It's an illness that people my age are accused of, or we love to complain, but rarely offer definitive solutions to these problems. Maybe because we've been here long enough to just notice what's happening, but not quite long enough to have answers. It's frustrating being confined to a body and the limitations of experience, but, well, what are you gonna do? Boy Meets World at this point has become a part of who I am as a person, and there's a lot about the show that annoys me. There's a lot about myself that annoys me too, but there are also joys. There is also strength, and I may not be perfect, I may not have figured everything out, but here I am. Here, now, and tomorrow. I look forward to what I'll have to say tomorrow. Maybe I look back on all of this and say it was just the ramblings of a confused 20-year-old, because it is. I better stop talking before I get mad at myself again. Tourism video coming soon.
The knife and kill yourself.